You're live.
I see that.
Oh, it's good to know. We're live. What's up, Bear Nation? So this is specifically for small business and entrepreneurship Q&A. This is not Tactical Tuesday because we're not talking about tactical stuff, and it's not Tuesday. But we have a lot of people within the Bear Nation who have small businesses and have small business questions. And so our goal this evening is to answer as many of those questions as we can and provide as much value for as many of y'all as we can. We are taking questions off of the chat on or the comments on Patreon, as well as we will have people in the chat, Hami and Renee and Forrest in the chat pulling questions. Monica's here, but she's running away from us. She made us dinner and refuses to appear on camera. She's more elusive than a Bigfoot and
Catch her in the mirror.
wants nothing to do with this shenaniganry. She is leaving. She has decided that
She makes good soup, though.
She makes delicious soup, though.
there is no need for her to be here, so she says. So she's leaving. She's
be careful on
leaving.
the steps, though.
Yeah.
I
I'll be
see.
careful on the steps.
Don't bust your tail on the steps. Thank you, Mon.
Thank you, Mon.
So
We got any questions?
Not yet.
did I actually publish the Patreon post? I
Yeah,
did publish the
You did.
Patreon.
I'm there. Just nobody's popped. Oh,
That's-
wait, hang on.
Some
We got
people
one.
said, is there an age limit on your class?
Is there an age limit on your class?
Gooch.
There's not an age limit on your class. We talked about this. This has a lot to do with my small business and nothing to do one of my small businesses, our small businesses, and nothing to do with anybody else's. We talked about this morning on Coffee Time with Bear on Patreon. We've had children as young as 10 years old in the class. We've had grown-ass men get up and walk out. Actual violence and blood and death. If you think your kid can handle actual violence and blood and death during the course, then bring them. If they can't, if they're going to detract from the class and the experience of everybody else, then please don't. My 14-year-old has been to 4 or 5 of these things.
Oh, there's a link in the Patreon.
There's no link on the Patreon?
No,
That's cool. I love that.
but we do have a question.
Okay.
Currently living in Southern Illinois. That being said, plus the political environment, do you think it's worth pursuing a FFL license in gunsmithing?
So my hot take on that is no, because inventory is incredibly difficult to get right now for established FFLs, and the established FFLs that I know, 2 of them, federal firearms arms license. You need
Oh, gotcha.
to resell a firearm, to resell ammunition, and to sell NFA items like suppressors and whatever else. The FFLs that I know currently can't get inventory, and they've been in business for a long time. They can't get firearms, or if they can, they can't get the ammunition to sell with the firearms. And there's a lot of people that are not buying firearms right now from FFLs because there's no ammo to go with them. It's hard to sell a 9mm pistol when there's no 9mm to put in it. So on that side, I don't think you're going to get much of a return on your investment if you don't have a product to sell, which leads to the gunsmithing portion of the question. I think traditionally, a lot of people have gotten the good idea fairy has sprinkled gunsmithing into their head from, and no hate here at all, but like Hickok 45, you know, there's a gunsmithing outfit that sponsors their channel, and there's several others out there, you know, earn money from home being a gunsmith. Cool. Well, the modularity of modern firearms is such that I just had 3 young men ages 12 to 16 build AR-15s from the ground up out of a pile of parts in two-hour sessions. Not an issue. However, there's so many new gun owners right now that there might actually be an opportunity for you to earn a few bucks in the gunsmithing realm. The question is, how much is it going to cost you? What's your cost benefit analysis in order to become a gunsmith? If it's going to cost you $10,000 for a piece of paper from some outfit that sends you some brass mallets and punches and a certificate fit for framing to hang on the wall, I don't know if that's worth it, because how many $50, $100, $200 jobs do you have to do in order to recover that $10,000?
Right. And in the how is he going to sell? Like, online platform? Are you planning on going to gun shows? How are you going to market yourself? There's all of these things that go into starting a business, other than just making the product.
It's a very good point. Yeah. So what you really want to do is create awareness around your ability to perform the service or around the product that you have. It's no secret that we sell first aid kits and that we train people to use them. People know that because we have an awareness at this channel. There's people tuned in to watch us. So, and it's not the primary reason we have a channel, but it certainly doesn't hurt when we come out with a new product or a new promotion or a new training event to say, hey, we're doing this thing and we got a bunch of eyeballs, because we had that attention already. Yeah, I would definitely look at the cost benefit analysis of gunsmithing right there. I would also look at, is there a gunsmith in your area that you can apprentice under and go, before you decide, yeah, I really want to do this, go spend a month or a year doing it with somebody else that knows what they're doing. And you might find, you know what, this is not nearly as exciting as I thought it would be, or I would do it this way, or whatever. And I know Southern Illinois is a lot different than Northern Illinois. It's a lot more rural in that area. There's probably a high number of firearms in your area. Your clientele should be good. But I would start with, what problem are you actually solving after you figure out your cost benefit analysis? Like, what am I actually doing for people? Am I mounting scopes because, man, that's easy nowadays. That's been commoditized with, Picatinny rail. Right. Things like that. Or am I, going to thread the muzzle of this rifle so somebody can run a suppressor on it? That's something a little bit different. So,
yeah. But
go ahead.
Oh.
I was going to say, to recap, I don't think an FFL is a good move right now because there's no inventory. If you ask me right now, should I become a tuna retailer and there was a worldwide ban on fishing tuna, my answer would be no, don't, because there's nothing to sell. And so as much as I wish that there were hundreds of thousands, millions more firearms to sell right now and billions of rounds of ammo to feed them, there's not. So I don't think that's a good move currently.
I would agree. Trip asks, did you start your business with a license?
Yeah. Yep. So an LLC, a limited liability company in the state of Oklahoma, costs $35. I believe it costs $35. You can file it online, and it doesn't take very long at all. There's reasons for that it allows you to separate financial responsibility and liability between you and the company. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, since you're my LLC person?
Well, I think you.
How many times do I say, hey, make me an LLC? And you go, okay.
It takes 5 minutes. That's me having to ask him what he's calling it.
Right.
And waiting for his text back. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you're just starting a very small business, an LLC is super easy. It's super cheap. gives you, again, limited liability. You're still a sole proprietor, but it's going to give you a little bit more tax advantages. You're still going to pay a lot of taxes. It's still similar, but there's a lot more write-offs. And then there's the whole idea of an S corp. An S corp is great, but it has a lot of like details on how you do it and how you do your taxes, and it's a whole thing. So that's CPA involved. Like, yes. You know, so you do get to a point where you may want to do that, or at least get with a CPA. I mean, you're kind of at the, either an LLC needs a CPA, or you need to switch to an S corp and you still need a CPA. So I would not recommend doing any of that yourself, but getting an LLC when you're first getting started, I mean, like I said, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I literally go on and people are always like, tell me how to do it. And I'm like, look where it says LLC and click it. And when it asks you to, for your name, put your name in, you know?
Yeah.
And if it asks you something that you're like, I don't know what a, you know, corporate filing papers or whatever, just Google corporate filing papers and there'll be like a sample and you'll be like, okay, I have to, you know,
put my name
on this piece of paper. Yeah. What's an EIN number? It's super easy. Like, I promise you, none of it is super complicated, except for when you get your EIN printed out, write it down everywhere, because you can't ever find it again. Like, the government won't tell you again what it is. Like, you need to know. That's the only one I would say is a little complicated. Like, if you get it, copy it, save it to a drive, save it everywhere, write it down in 12 different places. Everybody wants to know the number. And when you go back, you think, oh, I can log into the IRS and they'll remember my number. Nope. They give you a new one. So
Jay John says, S Corp here, go with an LLC.
Yeah, S Corps are really complicated. People love the tax potential of it, but
that's
what you save, you're paying a CPA to.
That's what I was going to say. I think that if your projected sales are 0 to 6 figures, an LLC will serve you well. When you get from 6 figures to 7 figures, you might question, do I need an S corp now?
Yeah.
And if you're at the mid 6 figures or up stage, you really need a CPA involved in your life, whether it's somebody that you meet with 4 times a year, or that you have on retainer that you can pick up the phone and say, yo, Bob, what do you think about XYZ? And then your CPA should be able to tell you if you should stay in LLC or transition to an S corp, or an actual corporation, based upon what your revenue is and what your tax strategy is. And those are things that only you and your CPA can figure out.
If you're buying fleet vehicles and you're doing lots of property and you're going to have a lot of major assets, S corp.
Yep.
But if you're not having massive amounts of assets, which most people don't these days, without millions of dollars being invested. Yeah.
And that's the thing to understand, is you can transition from one to the other. You're not stuck at an LLC. You can take that limited liability company and turn it into a bona fide corporation if you want to down the road. But I think that's very much so putting the cart before the horse. Get out there and start earning first. And then when you have the money to afford a CPA, afford the damn CPA. It's money well spent to have a tax professional on board, even in a limited capacity. And then with that relationship with your CPA, they can tell you down the road, man, you really should look at S corp, or you should look at, whatever else.
Yeah, I promise you'll know when you need an S corp. It'll be out of your hand. You'll be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Let's see. Jay John says, how do you take 30-ish acres and turn it into a living? Or is it better to be a gentleman farmer with a business off the homestead, providing the primary stream of income?
Well, that's a really good question. We know a guy named Pastor Joe that says, do the best you can with what you got where you're at. Right. So it's an interesting concept of the gentleman farmer. It might explain some of the looks that I get when I walk into our offices with the lawyer and the attorney, and then us, and they're like, is that sheep shit on his boots? Like, yes, it is. And my pants, and I think I got most of it off of my hands. Hi, how are you today, Bob? Good to see you. Well, we have 3 businesses and a ministry. One of those businesses is producing content for the internet, some of which you're consuming right now. Make no mistake, it is a business, and because we treat it like a business, it has flourished, and it has flourished because we take it seriously, and the Father has blessed us in the doing of it. There's a beautiful synthesis there. But I've had a lot of people tell me, man, I could not make as much content as you make. You make a lot of content. You're constantly between YouTube and Patreon. I am, because I treat it like a business, and because I understand that this is the product. What we're doing right now is the product, right? And there's an exchange happening here where I'm giving you some of my time, you're giving me some of your time, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have one business where we produce content for the internet, and it's not in a shady snake oil salesman, completely geared around the idea of selling, off-platform marketing, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's not built around that, but it's definitely a business. And then we do consulting, which generally speaking requires a laptop and a cell phone, which I think most people have these days. If you have an internet connection on your 30 acres or cell coverage and you can hotspot your laptop, you now have a consultancy. What do you know? Market that to people that don't know what you know. Mm-hmm. And that in of itself also sounds sleazebag-ish, but it's not, because
that's business. I mean,
somebody asked that question, and I think that's a really good thing to talk about, is people feel like when they're starting a side hustle or they're starting their first small business, their first people they start talking to are their friends, and they feel sleazy trying to sell to their friends. Right. You have to realize that your friends are not going to support your business. Like in the long term, right. You got to get outside of your friends. Your friends are great, but don't think of your friends. Don't even try to sell to your friends and family.
No,
because they're not your people. In order to have a business, you got to sell to everybody.
You got to be willing to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
I mean, the beginnings of any business is basically telemarketing. Like, you have to be able to sell yourself to complete strangers and convince them that you or the service that you provide or the product that you provide is exactly what they need.
What are you solving?
Yep.
Right. But yes, most people look to their friends and family for that initial kickstart, I guess.
They're your worst.
And
they're your worst. They are.
It
They're
is.
Your worst.
It's
They've
like
seen you when you're lazy and stupid and whatever. And yes, some may support you, but you're not going to have a successful business.
You're not going to be able to sell them because they already
they're either in or not.
And sales it's all about personality. Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, you have to be able to mesh with the people that you're hoping to sell to. And there are people like myself who is a complete and total introvert. I do not get filled up by hanging out with a bunch of people or talking to strangers. I hate it. But you put on that face when you need to sell. Like, it's almost like a split personality that you're not necessarily
to be good at it.
Right. You're not necessarily being yourself, but you are.
What's about connecting?
And connect, yeah.
Telling a story, solving a problem, having a passion. Sorry, go back to you.
No, this is good.
Okay.
So getting back to Jay Johns' question.
Well, yeah, we got that.
So consultancy, right? What do you know that other people don't know? And like Renee said, problem solving. And like you said, dealing with people. I started a wind turbine business after being in the turbine industry because I needed money. And so I called all the contacts that I knew in the turbine industry, and I said, I want the worst jobs that you have. If the gate to your project is crooked, I will come out and fix it. If you've got some down guys, the cables that keep the tower from falling over that need to be adjusted, let me do it. And I went from nothing to 27 contracts in a year.
That gets back to the thought of you do what others don't want to do.
Right.
And you will be more successful, and you'll get to do what others can't get to do.
Right. And then because I had a reputation in the industry, people would call me and say, hey, I'm looking at a Mitsubishi 2.4 right now, and it's doing a beep, beep, boop, boop thing, and I don't know what to do about it. that say, okay, where are you? Are you in the bottom of the tower or the top of the tower up in the cell? We're in the bottom. Okay, hit this button. There's a blah, 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 blah. There. Oh, wow, it worked. Yeah, man, been there. Send the check here. Right? So hold on. Let me finish Jay Johns' question before we go.
I know, I'm trying to go to Jay Johns' question.
Okay. Well, I wanted to make one more point.
Okay.
So we produce content for the internet. We do that in many ways from our homestead. We have a consultancy. We do that primarily from our homestead, except when we travel to other people's locations. And then we sell a product that was developed on the homestead and was incubated on the homestead, and then grew to the point where we now have offices off of the homestead. But all of that was done here on the property. And most of it is still done here on the property. And so I think it's very much so about what can you do from the 30 acres without having to, you know, split your time between the land and a cubicle somewhere.
Yes.
Because your passion is to use your 30 acres and homestead. You need to be there. Homesteading is kind of a 24/7 thing.
It's like when we first moved here and you were gone 4 days out of the week, like, but that was so, you know, we could basically afford to live here. It was that being away and wanting you here that really made us focus on Bear Independent and running that as a business, because before that it was just kind of a part-time,
it was a hobby.
Yeah, like you did it for fun, not to make a living. And so I think in some cases you need that solid income in order to transition. And then once you've gone to the transition, then you can kind of reprioritize and say, okay, what am I really wanting? And what do I want to accomplish out of this? And then maybe you're...
Yeah, straight up. When Patreon replaced what I was earning running that wood shop in Texas, I could pull the plug on running the wood shop in Texas.
Yeah.
But
it took us
over a year.
Yeah.
Over a year of being on Patreon and continuing to produce content for YouTube. I mean, we are pushing close to 3,000 videos in 3 years between YouTube and Patreon.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration. Close to 3,000 videos between YouTube and Patreon in 3 years. I mean, do the math on that. That's like what, 2.6 videos per day?
Yeah, crazy.
Right. And so that's where, and it's,
if you think about it, that
I'm gonna do it right now.
That's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of your life on video.
3,000 divided by 3 is 1,000 divided by 365. 2.73 videos on average per day. So when I tell y'all, hey, just keep going, and that's the Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'm a big fan of his business prowess, and I'm not a big fan of his social commentary, but I can chew the meat and spit out the bones. Likes to talk about how work ethic is the unlock. I've been legitimately diagnosed by a mental health professional as a classic workaholic. And so when people are like, man, I wish, can't believe you went from no subs to 100,000 plus subs in 3 years. It's like 2.73 videos per day. And not all of them are the best videos. That's okay. It's an at bat. You get to go up there and swing. And some of them you strike out. Some of them you hit a grand slam. Most of them are, a single, maybe a double. Sometimes you hit a triple.
Yeah.
But the more times you get up there and swing, the more likely you are to hit a grand slam or a home run.
Mhm.
The more likely people are to see you and go, you know what, I like that guy. He's swinging even though he sucks. I like the fact that he's swinging. And you start to build an audience. And the goal of building an audience is not to monetize it. It's to have the attention that comes from that audience so that when it's time to make that transition, you can. And so, YouTube and the YouTube pricing structure has changed significantly in the last 3 years since we've been on here.
Mhm.
Content creators, especially content creators like us, make far less than we did 3 years ago per 1,000 views, which is fine. I'm not beholden to YouTube nor anybody else to pay my bills. Praise the Father. But the idea behind building YouTube audience is not to make a bunch of money from Google, who owns
Right.
YouTube. It's to, first and foremost, for us to have a meaningful interaction with our audience. And then to, when we do have, like yesterday on coffee, it was Coffee Time with Bear.
No.
Oh, it was the report yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday on the report, it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to do promo code Cub Pro. Awesome. And we sold a bunch of Cub Pros yesterday. And we appreciate that from y'all because that helps us pay our bills and feed people that we love. But it's not the reason we have a channel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't want to be the ShamWow guy of prepper stuff. Right. So
You're so sham.
I am. I've met that guy in real life.
I know.
He was
me.
He was at a fair, a New York State fair, upstate New York. And I'm telling you, this guy was good. He was doing his thing. And he's like, and for right now, one time only, if you've got a $20 bill, you'll get not one but two ShamWows. And I'm telling you, I don't even know why I was holding a $20 bill up in the air going, me. And I bought two ShamWows, not one, for $20. And those damn ShamWows are probably still sitting unopened on the shelf of my garage in New York. The last place I saw them 15 years ago.
It's like that water bag.
Vince with ShamWow. So
This one comes from YouTube, but it's a good one.
okay, what do we got?
How about ideas to get capital for the starting of a business?
It's a great question. So the immediate thing that comes to mind is paralysis by analysis. How much capital do you actually need? And don't be a freaking dreamer. How much do you really need to get started? Because I'm going to tell you, when we started the Bear Fac, it cost me a few $100s in prototyping.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was all like literally this.
It cost me a few $100s in
Oh, my
prototyping, and I don't know, $150 for this. I had less than $500 into the original Bear Fac. Texas T, bless you, thank you.
Well, and I mean that's one thing, but you also used Adventure Frontier, and then as the marketing,
everything. Yeah.
but like when we went to moving it to Bear Independent, I think we invested $1,000 in inventory. Like that was all we had. And we were like, okay, let's hope these things sell.
13 lives saved, 4 branches on 4 continents now. And we have a lot more than $1,000 in inventory right now. Praise the Father. $1,000 in inventory doesn't handle an hour of business operations on a busy day, which is awesome. That being said, we didn't start there. We actually, the dining room table that was the precursor to this dining room table was where we were packing Bear Facs, not this past October, but the October before. So we're talking 15 months ago. We were packing Bear Facs from this dining room table, and I had $500 of my own money that was literally earned with blood, sweat, and tears put into prototyping it and developing it. And then, because I had an audience, I'd spent time building an audience, I was able to come to that audience, not to monetize or leverage the audience, but to say, hey, I got this thing. Who wants to try it and give me your feedback? And the first 100 kits that we sold, every one of them went out with a feedback form for what would you do different? What would you change? Give me your honest opinion. And there was a whole bunch of in the Gen 1 Bear Fact, there were a whole bunch of categories. Rate this 0 to 10, and you can't use 7 because most people just like to just run. Oh, it's
mediocre.
a 7. 7's bullshit. It's not a 7. Be brutally honest. Is it a 10? If so, why is it a 10? No, it's only a 2. Why is it a 2? So that we could get that feedback. And make no mistake, the original Bear Fact, the Gen 1 Bear Fact, I made $20 on each kit. That's what I made, was $20 on each kit. And I was able to take that $20 and stack that $20 with each kit. So the first run of 100 of them, I made $2,000. So I went from $500 invested to $2,000. I was able to take that $2,000 and then very slowly begin to forecast, okay, how much does it cost to get one case of Quick Clot? One case. Holy shit, that's a lot of money. Right?
No, I mean, there was a time
ZQ Spider. And we just
still buying them 5 at a time, like
Yeah.
on Amazon. Like sometimes you're still
yeah.
Right.
having
Yeah,
to
we
pay
were paying
retail.
retail.
having to pay
for-
retail
But-
for things and making almost nothing.
But I think there's a lesson in this as well. Is first of all, be very realistic with how much money you actually need.
Some of these
Because
guys are
you're going to get your
120,000.
you're going to get your debt to revenue wrong immediately if you start with a whole bunch of debt. The next thing to understand is we as a company don't have debt. We don't have debt. It's not like, well, we put $63,000 on the card this month. How are we going to spend it, or how are we going to pay it back? It's like, no, because we started with a $500 investment that then turned into $2,000. It was reinvested to the company that then sell more kits at $20 worth of profit, $20 worth of profit, $20 worth of, it's one of the reasons occasionally where it kind of pisses me off when people are like, you can't give me any more of a discount than that. I'm like, son, I don't have that much headroom in the product to begin with. So,
and why sometimes it's hard for us to spend our money because we don't have credit cards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like we don't even have credit cards.
We've only grown
Less than 2 years.
as far as we had money to grow.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, there was the whole like transitioning to the new platforms and all of that. And like,
Scary.
what's my budget? Like, how much do I have that I can run, all these new things with, because that's increased operations cost. And are we gonna, are we sure we're gonna have the sales to like sustain this so that, we're not doing it 1 month and then, oh crap, what do we do now? And
Which brings up another good point. Just like your house needs to have an emergency fund and your house needs to have savings, your business needs an emergency fund and your business needs savings, which is a whole nother reason to not be in debt, because you might have a bad month.
Yep.
You're just going to fire everybody that month. You're not going to ship any product that month because you don't have any operating capital. No, you need to have, just like we prepare with everything else, we need to be prepared for hiccups financially, both in our homes and our businesses as well. So you should have at least a month worth of savings for the business. And which gets back to, you got to know what your operating costs are. And your operating costs are lower if you're not starting from day one in debt, which comes back to really understanding, what are you trying to do? What is your clear strategy, your clear pathway forward? And it shouldn't start with, if I just had $100,000, if I just had $22,000, if somebody would just give me $5,000, no, you go get $5,000. You are going to be much better with your own money than you are with anybody else's. I promise you that. People think twice when they spend their own money. They don't think twice when they spend somebody else's money. It's one of the reasons, and my team is awesome. Make no mistake, my team is awesome. But there are days where I'm like, son of a, what did we spend? Holy crap. And they're like, we had to have it. I'm like, did we really have to have it? They're like, well, we had to have 87% of it. Like, all right, got it. So, but you're going to be a much better steward of your own money than anybody else. What's the question?
Someone's talking about Equid versus or Shopify versus Wiz.
That's a very tactical question, one that I think you could add to.
Someone said, did you come up with your own logo, and who made it for you?
No, I didn't come up with my own logo. I paid a buddy of mine in New York, Dave Daugherty, who's a graphic designer. And I said, hey, I want a cool bear logo. And there were half a dozen different designs that he came up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with the one that's now the classic bear logo. And then he did the rifle bear. And I also said, hey, I need a squid, because when it was the Squid and Bear channel. And I was paying him, I think I paid him $200 for a logo, which gets back to, you got to have $200. Like, you got to have revenue. And it doesn't necessarily need to be revenue that comes from your big giant YouTube channel. It needs to be revenue that comes from somewhere. And for a long time, this channel, what we do online, was not revenue positive. It was not. I put more of my own money, more of our money into it than we got back out of it. But again, you got to invest, right? Invest in yourself. Don't have debt.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
That's
the ups, man. Just go shoot him in the leg.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's my cheese.
It's your cheese? You ordered cheese shipped to my house?
No, but it's probably going over there too.
No,
Home place now. Kind of.
I completely agree on your stance on the Capitol, because I think we've done everything that we have very smartly. Like, there's been times that we've talked about taking out loans
or lines of credit. And like, it took us so long to get debt free that once you are, you don't want to go back. Like, it is so freeing to not have that on your shoulders. And especially starting a new adventure, you don't want that hanging over you. Like, you're gonna, because basically that bank owns you. Yeah, they do.
At that point. Like,
well, that was one of the things I was going to say about the homestead idea, is that when somebody wants to start a homestead business and they're expecting the homestead to pay for them to live, or any business, any business, if you're trying to start a business and you're expecting that business to pay your salary as the owner for you to live, very often it doesn't work that way. You have to be able to reinvest enough that you can't expect to like pay yourself up until that point.
It's the UPS guy.
You can't expect it to pay your salary and pay for your lifestyle and pay for all your bills and all of that kind of stuff. A new business doesn't do that. I mean, a new business making a profit in the first 5 years is like unexpected, unheard of. I mean, 2 years is unheard. So that would be, and I thought of that with the homesteading question. People want to like move to a homestead and expect the homestead to pay for them to have a homestead. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Like, it really doesn't. And that's a perfect way to fail. Like, that's literally the perfect way to fail, is if you are expecting it to pay your bills. It needs to pay its own bills enough to reinvest to get to the point that it is stable and has its own emergency fund before it can pay you as an owner anything.
Oh, and that's a really good point. Check this out. I don't get a paycheck from Refuge Medical. I don't get a paycheck from Refuge Training. I don't get a paycheck from Google or the YouTube Bear Independent. My paycheck comes from a portion of Patreon, or what we call Bear Media.
Right.
And so there's all these different revenue streams. There's all these different things, but I'm not like, give me all the money. The businesses need the money to operate. Right? They need
anytime he is like, give me all the money, we're like, no. You can't have the money.
In most businesses,
That's not your money. That's the business money.
What's that?
Most businesses, you're not going to make lots of money the first year.
No,
you're not. I mean, the likelihood of you even turning a profit your first 5 years.
And that
doing the things you love to do.
Yeah, and it also gets back to, if you're servicing a debt load with your revenue from the business, it's going to take you much longer to become profitable with the business. You're going to have to put even more into the business to generate even more revenue to climb out of the hole that you started in because of the debt load. So I do not think you should go into debt to start a business. And like the bear fact, the market said, we are interested in this item, and I developed it. I didn't try and reverse engineer what does the market want. The market said, we want first aid kits. I said, okay. Just so happens I'm making first aid kits for myself because I can't find any that I like. I'm going to come up with a first aid kit. And here we are a couple years later.
It was like the stomp bag. We all laughed at the stomp bag.
Yeah.
Like, they're never going to sell these things. They're way too much. And literally released like 5, like the first 2 days.
Yeah. 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 And so we do several stomp bags a week now. And the point is that the market demonstrated the need first. I didn't invent a product and then try and go and convince everybody out there that you should buy my product. The market was already interested in said product. So, yeah. What else we got?
We have, let's see, she has a 2-page question, but it's regarding, she owns a silver business. And
who is she?
Donna.
Okay.
So she's wondering if she should keep her remaining stock to sell it later, or keep the business. I'm assuming, I've had a sterling silver jewelry business. Should I keep my remaining stock to sell it later, as the possibility of silver prices going up? And then she asked a second question, any ideas on some part-time businesses that you would see as an up-and-coming need?
Okay. So I think that, and this is completely subjective. This is, I don't know anything about sterling silver jewelry other than what I've seen at the Ren Fair the few times I've been there. And I'll tell you this, I was never sober at the Ren Fair. So,
No, that's so strong.
oh yeah. Yeah.
That's something about Ren.
Raise your hand if you have spent $100 per hour on meat at the Ren Fair. Me. Okay.
I want to go.
Be dead.
I would, yeah, we need to bring the Ren Fair back. Damn you, global
There's a small
pandemic
business.
nonsense. We need to bring
I'm a
that.
fair and a pandemic. Do not.
Whatever.
Should not be a concert promoter right now. There's
No.
we can name all the things you should not be
there's
right now.
anything,
You should not in a movie theater. You should not.
you should not go all around the country trying to teach people how to not die and stop the bleed classes. That's a whole nother story. All right. So
Wait,
should Donna hold on to her silver or continue to sell it? I think the real question is, are you selling jewelry? And
Right.
if you're selling jewelry to the point where you're wondering whether or not the inventory to make the jewelry with is worth holding as a commodity, you're probably not selling enough jewelry. You're not selling it at a high enough profit margin. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The next thing is, I don't know about sterling silver. I don't know if that's the same as 0.999 or if that's junk silver or what. But
There's a chemical difference, but I'm not
It still has a pretty good worth.
right. Like, but it's a smaller percentage of silver.
does
in
it spend?
Yeah.
Because here's
Yeah.
where my mind goes. I would get so good at selling silver jewelry that you buy silver rounds. That's what I would do. But I don't think it's, or you hold a portion of your inventory back. Because, like, make no mistake, one of the wonderful things about having a first aid company is that I don't ever have to buy first aid items at retail again. Right? If somebody around here needs a tourniquet, they're not paying retail pricing for a tourniquet. It's just like, hey, bro, Fo needs another tourniquet. Cool. Here's a tourniquet. And so if you have access to silver, then sell a bunch of silver and also hold a portion of it back as a commoditized inventory, because of the valuation of that silver. That's perhaps a better way to look at it. It doesn't have to be either or. And worst case scenario, balloon goes up tomorrow and you're never making another silver bracelet again. All that inventory that you have for making jewelry is now commoditized silver, and you use it for its commodity valuation rather than the fact that it could be jewelry. It's actually, because on the surface I was like, man, I don't know, it's jewelry. But the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, but it's jewelry made out of money. Right. So that's cool.
They're saying 92.5 instead of.
Yeah, that's
so
where the 925 stamp comes.
But yeah,
it's not the 99% pure.
That's still, though, that's cool.
So it's better. I mean, if you're going to have jewelry,
it would have slag in it. If you went to melt.
This is the
silver rounds for the werewolves.
All of my melting.
Silver rounds for the werewolves.
What's the videos I watch called?
Smelting.
Smelting.
You're really big into smelting.
Yeah.
So big.
I don't even know what it's called. I just like watching the hot lava metal pour out of the crucible and into the molds.
You know what crucible is? That's good.
Yes, I do.
Somebody's putting rice in buckets right now.
So what do you think? Oh,
go.
So the other part-time businesses that you see as an up-and-coming need.
Oof.
I would just say businesses that you see as an up-and-coming need.
What do they like to do?
So number one,
what are they?
The service industry. The service industry is an industry that very rarely fails. People go out of it and people need to come into it. And there is a demand always for the service industry, whether it's welding, plumbing.
You mean trades?
Trades, yeah.
Trades.
So that's one thing. And
carpentry, yeah.
Right. Like you need, it's skills, set skills that nobody else has. Or things that people don't like to do. Like
pump your septic tank.
Pump your septic tank. Fix your plumbing. Run electrical in your attic. Like
I feel like everybody when they're starting a small business wants to like multiply their time and multiply their money instead of like literally being like sometimes you just have to like sweat.
Yeah.
Like you have to literally trade your time for money instead of like there aren't really that many magical side hustles that you get to do that somehow like exponentially like multiply it's just, you know, I've done the MLM thing. I was super successful at it. I've done other small businesses. I've done, you know, consulting type things. There's everything is trading time for money, period. Unless you were like uber wealthy and then you can make your money work for you. But if you're here on YouTube, you're probably
but even to get to that point, it takes a lot of blood, sweat,
it's a
and
lot
tears.
of like, so people are like, a lot of people don't want to do a trade. They want to do something that they can like do from home and do it. I was like, no, you got to be willing to like, you know, even like the content I see you guys make, like making content about sheep means standing in an ice storm, like in the middle of the night while a sheep is giving birth. I mean, you do that because you're also at your homestead and you love it. But the fact that you like have the tripod and the camera and somebody standing there, you know, like you're willing to take the time to make the content instead of being like, yeah, we'll check on that in the morning, you know, which some people can do, but that's putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. It is not. Owning your own business is not a 9-to-5 job at all.
Oh, no. I got up at 5 a.m. this morning.
If it was, and if it was easy
You're not
to
clacking
do,
in and clacking out,
then everybody would do it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have people that choose to go flip burgers at McDonald's. But it's because
there's something to say for that kind of a job.
Some people
they get to leave and like not worry about turn it off. Yep. Like we don't, and and somebody asked earlier about personalities for being able to own your own small business. Are there certain people that should and certain people that shouldn't? And I would say yes. There are people who want to check out at the end of the day, put their phone to the side, not pick it up until 9 a.m. and be able to say, I'm off the clock. You cannot own your own small business and do that. Now, Sabbath is totally different. Having some boundaries when you're spending on a date night with your wife, but you need to be willing to kind of work 24/7 if that's what it takes for your business not to fail.
Yeah, I
very different.
I have to set a do not disturb on my phone just so that I can be able to produce content in the mornings. Yeah. Because otherwise it'll go off so much.
It's usually me.
Yeah. Otherwise it won't happen. Two things. First, there is a promo code for tonight. It's what, small biz?
Small biz.
And it's 15% off everything at the store.
All caps.
Except for training. Yes.
Except for training. So for anybody that is watching along, if you want to support a small biz, we appreciate you. SMALLBIZ at Bear Independent Refuge Medical. Also, we need to let Monica know that I would very much so like this to be extrapolated for the podcast.
Okay.
So if anybody's listening on podcast, we appreciate you. Please rate and review. That helps us greatly. Promo code SMALLBIZ, 15% off everything at Refuge Medical and Bear Independent. Fo, what do you got?
How do you figure the market for the first aid kits on how many other first aid kits are already out there?
Oh, I have. That goes along with one of mine too.
That's differentiation. There's really only two metrics when it comes to a commoditized product or service. You can do it cheaper or you can do it better. Or in certain cases, you can do it faster, right?
That's what the 3 goes to.
Right.
You can only have 2 of the 3.
That you can only have 2 of the 3, right? You can have it cheap and good, but not fast, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, they say there's literally the 3 things,
Yep.
and you can only do 2 of them.
better, faster, cheaper. Okay. And so the Bear Fac is not cheaper. It's not faster.
Yeah, sometimes
We're
it's not
getting
even faster.
faster.
We are
We're
getting
getting faster.
We
Hell,
are.
I shipped out orders today that came in last night.
So yeah, we're like 1 week turnaround right now, which is awesome. And it's taken
But we learned that in the
15
beginning.
months of bootstrapping.
Yeah.
For real, it's taken
Yeah.
15 months of bootstrapping and like pouring money into the business to get to where we could afford to hold the inventory to have a 1 week turnaround.
Right.
And so when you look at your differentiation in the market space, are you going to be cheaper? I can't be cheaper. Our products are, it's our flagship line, the Bear Fac and the Bear Minimum are made in the United States. I'm never going to be cheaper than China. I can't be. So that's not going to happen. So throw cheaper right out the window. Can I be faster? Not without going into a ton of debt on the front end so that I have all the money to buy all the inventory. And even then, because we're working with American-made small batch suppliers, getting all the inventory, we had to spin up 3 vendors just to be able to keep up, right? That took 15 months to get the intellectual property on the patterns that we own but have been cut and sewn by Cody at Sojourn Gear for so long, to get them out of his head and into Dan and his people at Night Manufacturing and into the heads of Mark and all of his people at Dow Cover. And, so we've got 2 Arkansas small companies and a Connecticut small company that are producing these kits, right? So that all that leaves is better. We're not faster.
Right.
We're not cheaper. All that leaves is better. We are better. We exceed military specification. Our kits have more in them. They allow you to run the complete March algorithm with everything that you have on hand. They are guaranteed forever. They're made in the United States. And if you use the components to save a life, I will replace them at my cost. That's better than everybody else on the market. And so when I looked, the reason the Bear Fac exists in the first place is because I couldn't find a first aid kit, a blowout kit that had everything in it that I wanted to have in a first aid kit. And so that's why I developed it. And so I was able to look at the market space and go, there's a gap here. I would pay more money for a better kit. And let's be honest, I don't have a ton of money. I definitely didn't have a ton of money 2 years ago when I started prototyping this thing. But I would rather pay more money for a better product that meets my needs than less money for a product that inadequately meets my needs and isn't as well made as I would like it to be. And so that's where the concept of the Bear Fac came from. I wasn't trying to be faster than everybody else. I wasn't trying to be cheaper than anybody else, and I'm still not. Just trying to be better than everybody else. And if you find a better kit, I want to know about it. I want to talk to the people that made it. And that's a big part of why we supply our kits to United States Special Forces.
Right.
Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy Special Forces are all running our kits in some form or capacity. And we get feedback from them going, hey, we love this thing, but please, I want to hear the but. Tell me the but. What would you do differently? What are we going to do with the Gen 3s when they come out? Because of real input from the field. I'm not trying to be cheaper. I'm not trying to be faster. I'm just trying to be better and better and better with our kits. And so that's how the Bear Fac came about. Same thing with our stomp bag. Our stomp bag's better than Naval Special Warfare issued stomp bags. It's better. It ain't cheaper.
Mhm.
You can buy stomp bags on the internet for 1/3 what ours cost. And if you want 800 Band-Aids but not the ability to run an IV, then that's the bag for you to get. Go for it. But they're garbage. Price is always a factor, but it's not the predominant factor in what we do. I would rather make a good product that actually saves a life than one that's cheaper.
Something that we can legitimately stand behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because yeah, we're not doing it to turn the quick buck. We're doing it for the purpose of actually having equipment out there that people can use to save lives.
Yep. So yeah, that's the differentiating factor on the bear factor, and really everything that we do. You know, if you look at the Cub kit is a cheap but very powerful, well assembled kit.
Right.
Right.
And why did we develop that?
Well, we developed it because we wanted to have a kit at that price point.
Right.
That was accessible.
But we had also gotten lots of requests
Mm-hmm.
for a kit for kids.
Yep.
Like something that they could put in their kids' backpack with all these active shooter scenarios going on, that basically the parent would feel better about their child having their own medical equipment, that if something were to happen within their school, they would have what they needed to handle it.
Yeah. Well, that's like in the public access kit.
Right.
It's the exact same kit that other people sell for $100 less.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't feel like charging you an extra $100 so that kids don't die in a school shooting. How's that for an answer? So anyway, what else we got?
Well,
yeah,
the question Mark asked kind of goes with that. I have lots of ideas, but have no idea how to determine if there is room in the market. How do you know that some of your businesses had a place in the market?
It's a good question. Part of that comes back to the audience, having that audience and taking the time to build the audience. Because I did a poll on Patreon, and I was like, hey, we're going to do some swag. What kind of swag do you guys want to see? T-shirts, hats, stickers.
Right.
And I just included IFAC as an option. And in 24 hours, 334 people selected IFAC. It was the #1 option. People were like, F your patches. I want an individual first aid kit. And I was like, there's something here. Right. And so having already built that relationship with your audience, and it's a real relationship. I mean, I mean it when I tell you guys, I'm not going to tell you to buy junk. You guys should see the Bear Creek Arsenal review that's coming on Patreon. That's all I'm going to say right now. You should just wait till you see it. I'm not going to tell you to buy something if it's not good, and I'm not going to not tell you to buy something if it is good. So having that notoriety with your people, that you're not a shill. It's not like, this is the ultimate survival cup. Everybody needs this cup. It's $79.99, made of high carbon steel. You can use this with a piece of flint to start fires out there in the wilderness. It holds 14.5 ounces, which is the exact number of ounces that the body. No, that's all bullshit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, it's the audience to be able to do that market research. The next is being aware of the market in general. Like I have lots of good ideas. I really do. We don't move forward with the ones that we don't know how to do, because a lot of them are in markets that I'm completely unaware of.
Right.
I don't know. Hey, you know what would be cool if? There's lots of things would be cool if you can't actually execute on them, if you don't have the capability of executing on them, it's probably a no-go. And so if you think about, what do you know how to do? Venn diagram time, 3 overlapping circles. What do you know how to do? What do you enjoy doing? Okay, I know how to do it. I'm knowledgeable about it. I enjoy doing it. And there's a market for it. Mm-hmm. That sweet spot right there in the middle of those 3 overlapping circles. Now you got something. If there's a need in the market, you know how to do it and you enjoy doing it. Now you got something.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have, not everybody's a YouTuber. So if you don't have that
Oh, we're going to come back to that, but go ahead.
You don't have that following. I talked about this earlier. You can have a product, but how are you going to get that product out to people?
Mm-hmm.
And especially nowadays in the age of COVID, for the most part, brick and mortars are kind of
Done.
Yeah. Between the regulations and the, all of that, people are just saying it's not worth it. So now you have online retailing or online marketing that if you're wanting to sell something, you're going to have to get that in place and know that that does not happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
If you are starting from scratch with nothing, like you don't have 100,000 subs that you can call out to promote that is going to be boots on the ground, hard work to get a brand new name out there and to get it to the point that it's thriving for your profitability.
There's a couple of points, because I agree with that. But I do think in today's day and age, everybody should have a YouTube channel and an Instagram page, and maybe not a Facebook page at this point, because they've gone off the deep end and forget
It
Twitter.
depends on your audience.
But
That's true. But we'll say this: social media touch points. You should have a presence, because everybody's on the internet, right? Where you engage them on the internet is up to you.
Right.
Basic website.
A basic website, and basic doesn't mean bad. A basic website that doesn't suck. But I think, obviously, I'm biased to YouTube. YouTube's been really good to us. We've made a lot of friends here. I mean, literally, Forward and Renee wouldn't be here if it wasn't for YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's YouTube's been good to us. As much as we might disagree politically with the people that run YouTube sometimes and get really frustrated sometimes, they've been good to us. And we have a lot of meaningful interaction with people here on YouTube. And so my point is, you need that attention that's going to drive the business. It's not the only reason you want to have the channel, but it should be a consideration of it. And when you turn into the ShamWow guy, people tune out, right? Hi, I'm Vince with ShamWow. It's like, oh, geez, this guy again. What's this?
I like it.
Dark Knight Diesel. Could you make a blowout insert that rides behind your armor plates to deploy similar to the Bear Pack but slimmer profile? Yeah, that's in the works. Appreciate you, Dark Knight Diesel. Thank you.
There's like a lot of things in the works.
I've got a question that goes with this.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm not done yet.
Oh.
So how in the F do you put more lead in this pencil? There it is.
Okay.
Do you need a pen, pencil?
Got it.
Okay.
So I do think that everybody needs to have some type of online presence. And then I totally lost my train of thought. So that was a really good one. But things like
We're talking about websites or social media.
like things like Shopify, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes time to learn those things. And that's what I was going to say. Maybe you don't have that presence, but I'm looking at a logo on Renee's computer that came from Lucia and Jerry at Sanctified Supply Co. And Sanctified Supply Co. is a small business who bought, I think it was a sticker or a patch from us, something.
Mm-hmm.
And you could ask Forrest and Renee and Hami. I have nothing to do with filling orders. I have nothing, not my job. And I just happened to see there was this order, and it was pulled up on your computer, and it said Sanctified Supply Co. And I was like, that's a cool name. I wonder if these people actually understand what sanctified means. And so I pulled it up, sanctifiedsupplyco.com. And I was like, damn, they do. They do know what it means. It's like, these people are cool.
Yeah.
And so I ordered a couple of T-shirts. And in the little leave a note thing at checkout, I was like, the 2 X's for Bear and the other one's for Hami. And so they sent the T-shirts and they sent a love note with it. And they're like, man, we think you guys are the coolest. Bless y'all. Thank you so much. And that started the ball rolling. And because Sanctified has been good to us and we've been good to them, we have a relationship. And it's so they don't have 111,000 YouTube subs,
Right.
but there's somebody that does have 111,000 YouTube subs that every time he does the brief is talking about Sanctified Supply Co. And they don't pay me to do that. Adventure Frontier doesn't pay me to talk about them.
Right.
Amendment 1 Preparedness does, or Chaffee Cigar Collection, they don't pay me. These people don't pay me. We love them. There's a difference because we've built meaningful relationships with one another. And so strategically, the question would be, who can you build meaningful relationships with that? And yeah, there's, make no mistake, it's business. There is some quid pro quo. However, it's not the primary thing with us, with the way that we do business. It's not, well, you're going to have to scratch my back first before I scratch yours. And it's like, no, just like do good shit and good shit happens.
That actually
like,
works in reverse with us too.
Yes.
If you come at us like that, like it's literally if you guys don't know, if you want Bear to review something or you want to build a relationship with him, you kind of have to like send and then back off. Coming at us and saying like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like it just doesn't work because we're busy. And if you send us something that's awesome, you're going to hear from us.
Yeah.
You know, and if not, then you had a good shot, you know, and maybe it wasn't the right time. Like keep doing it. I mean, you hear about all those people who are like famous authors who sent in like 99 scripts or whatever, you know, books and didn't get till the last one. So sometimes it's got to be the right day, the right time, the right person, and beating a dead horse in anywhere isn't going to get you what you want. So maybe that door is closed and, you know, move on to the next one and keep sending it. If you believe in it, that would be my big thing on all these. Like, what business do you want to start? Like, what do you like to do? Pick something you like to do.
What are you passionate about?
Yeah. What are you passionate? What are you good at? You know, don't think about what you're good at. You may have to ask your friends and your family, like, what am I good at? You know,
right. Because, get an outside perspective.
Yeah. Because you don't pick something you hate. I can tell you that. I did something for many, many years that I hated and I was good at it. And people were like, oh, but you're so good at it. And I was like, but I hate every moment of it. And it's sell something else, do something else, because make a business out of what you love and find the right market for it. And make sure it's something you're like good at.
And it's that passion that's going to see you through because sooner or later it all becomes a job.
Yeah.
Even if you love it. It's love what we do.
And
it's still effing work.
Yeah, like, there's still some mornings where like, oh, it's cold out. Right.
I just want to stay in bed. I don't want to go to the office.
But then we get there and we enjoy it. We get cool notes.
I have
and
50 emails
and somebody's life gets saved and we're in tears.
You know, called Bear Tank.
Yeah. Bear Tank. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to see Bear Tank. Y'all are going to need a lot of Kleenex.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who are coming to. I think I need to address this too. I am so. Maybe you guys, the Bear Nation, gets this. Maybe y'all don't. I am freaking brutal with business. I don't think that maybe that conveys, but when it comes down to business, I'm like,
we all are.
Yeah, we all are. That's like, a very good point.
You have a brutal force behind your brutality.
Yeah.
When it comes to business.
Yep. And it's I don't love these people any less if we disagree about something with business and I got to be like, no, we're not doing that. Or if they're like, yes, we are, right? It's like, okay, we can separate.
NWA Prepper really wants to be part of Bear Nation.
Who does?
NWA Prepper.
NWA Prepper wants to be part of Bear Nation?
Really.
Well, I'm going to have to. There's a process, brother. There's a process. We'll send you a postcard.
You got to bring an axe.
Oh, wait. Yeah, he sent axes.
I know.
They've got Bear logos on them.
My green cup up there on the island.
So, I and we are very brutal when it comes to business. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And one of the things I say all the time is businesses make money, hobbies don't. How many times have I said that?
And if it's not a hell yeah.
It's another good point. One of the guiding principles of our business. But if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. Hey, should we do this? If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Barry, will you review my, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Barry, will you come on my podcast? If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Hey, do you have time to, if it's not hell yes, it's a no. But that also is informed by what is your mission statement? We know what our mission statement is: to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experiencing the abundance of his provision and blessing. If it doesn't support that, no. If it doesn't have anything to do with that, no. If it does, yes, it passes the smell test on the mission statement, then it's a, does this make sense money-wise, dollars-wise? If it does, yes, okay. Do we want to do this? If the answer is not hell yes, then it's a no. And you would think that you'd be so niched down at that point that there'd be nothing left to do.
Right.
I'm telling you, we've not run out of things to do yet. So
very, very true.
But it's because once something passes passes the first test of does it support the mission statement, passes the second test of does it make sense financially, and passes the third test of do we even want to do this?
Right.
Then it gets attacked by a beast mode team that's all over it like white on rice on a paper plate in a snowstorm, and shit starts happening. But we can dedicate the resources towards that thing to make it happen, because we're not doing a bunch of things that we don't want to do. We're not doing a bunch of things that don't make money, and we're not doing a bunch of things that don't support the mission statement. We've already weeded out all of the bad stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. I need some water.
You ready for your next question?
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to speak on this too.
Well, why don't you speak on this while I go get some water? Well, I really want amino-wise in it. Okay. Can you put water in there, please? And then there's a amino-wise thing over there with a spoon next to it.
Scooper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sankyo. It takes 2 scoopies or 4 spoonies to make a quart of amino-wise.
Ready?
I'm so ready. Let's do it. Thank you, Renee.
The 5Es.
5 versus 1.
Oh, 5 versus 1. Okay.
Yep.
5Es. Yeah. I don't know. What's the most fixable mistake you see businesses make that prevents them from having success?
Hire good people and let them do their effing jobs. Leave them alone.
Trust your employees.
You hired them for a reason. Let them do their jobs. You did not hire them to be your friends, although it's great when they are.
You did not hire them for you to micromanage.
It's exactly right. Hire good people and leave them alone. The conversations that I have with my people regularly is, what do you need from me so you can do your job?
Right. Not
the other way around. So I need you to justify all the hours you've been spending on these projects. No. Nope. And you don't really want to know the answer to that anyway, because all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh, you don't pay your people nearly enough. We should talk. Hire good people and leave them alone. If they need you, they will let you know.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's it in a nutshell.
I think that's one.
Okay.
And I think businesses give up too soon.
I agree
Bad
there.
expectations.
Yep.
Right.
You always think it's
They
going
hit that first. They hit that
Thank
first
you, Renee.
failure. They hit that
Thank
first
you.
wall,
Right.
and then they stop.
Right.
You got to
They
be able
say,
to fight
"I'm
through
done."
that wall.
Yeah, they get
and then
defeated.
push.
Mm-hmm.
You got to push through that wall, because everyone hits that first wall.
Oh
You're
yeah.
gonna hit it in every
You're gonna hit,
business. Every business.
And you
Anybody
hit
owns
multiple walls.
hits a wall.
Rage quit daily.
Right.
Well, think about like a relationship. If you really love your partner, you're not going to have a bad day and go, that's it, I want a divorce.
Right.
It's like, you know what? You're kind of an asshole right now, but I still love you, and we're going to have to figure out how to do this thing. Right? And sometimes
It's a week, monthly or weekly.
it tends to be related to the phase of the moon.
Hey.
I'm just saying.
Also be related to food intake.
Yes, this is true. Your glycemic index has something to do with it.
Low iron.
Whether or not divorce is an option.
Yes, so step 1, check your blood sugar
We're
before you
getting-
rage quit.
We're getting
No, I
Love slapped.
love slapped. Who's love slapping
It's
us?
just a thing they do on the internet
Oh.
for getting love slapped.
I love it.
Aw.
So yeah, I agree. Businesses give up too early. Hire good people and let them do their jobs. And then, like I said, don't take on unnecessary debt.
Mhm.
Don't take on unnecessary debt. You know, we were watching Shark Tank recently. Where the hell were we?
Here.
Here? Was it here? I thought we were in a hotel.
No.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, where we?
we were. 3 Wednesdays ago, we were in a hotel
Oh.
watching Shark
Our
Tank.
date night.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Can you?
I realized listening to these people pitch their products and services to the sharks,
Mm-hmm.
what a good position we're in,
Yeah.
because the valuation of our companies for many of these people exceeded their projected valuation, and the amount of debt that they were looking at to accomplish said valuation was disgusting. That debt to revenue ratio is very, very bad. So yeah, what else we got? What are we doing?
Do you know who Prepping 101
Prepping
is?
101 is in the house?
Do you know who that is?
No. What's up, Prepping
They
101?
sent a bunch of people.
They
Apparently.
sent a bunch
They
of
sent a
people.
bunch
They're
of people.
all
They're
love slapping you.
They're love slapping us?
Yeah.
That's cool. What's up, Prepping 101? We appreciate y'all.
My buffering is so bad. Try backing out
That's
and coming
good.
back in. Sometimes that fixes it.
Do I know Prepping 101? I might have to look that video up. Well, I do appreciate it for sure. If you're new here, shalom and welcome. We got a promo code running tonight for 15% off everything in the store. Promo code SMALLBIZ.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Let's see. Badger asked a question.
Uh-huh.
Would you consider Shopify as an online store versus, it says with, but I think he means Wix.
Mhm.
Starting out, is the juice worth the squeeze on a marketable product?
There's 2,800 people watching his live stream right now.
Yeah, they just sent
Oh, and
everybody
we're
over.
We're
on it.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Hello,
Why, hello.
Prepping 101.
I was trying.
Hey, he's waving at us.
Hi, Prepping 101.
Like, yeah, it's an internet thing.
We got like weird hijack. Yeah.
Hey, man, shoot us an email. admin@Bear Independent, Prepping 101. Let's you and me talk offline. Let's touch antennas.
So,
Appreciate you, bro.
So Badger, to answer your question, because I guess this is kind of my wheelhouse, the Wix option is going to be slightly cheaper in the beginning with the online store and website. Now, that's kind of the thing with Wix is you have to have two. They're together, but they have to be two separate things. You have an online store and you have a Wix website.
Mm-hmm.
And then you combine the two in one platform. Shopify is going to be basically they give you a store with your website. Like it's all in one already. You don't have to make it one. But the startup price is, I think it's like 10 or 15 bucks more a month to go with Shopify as opposed to the Wix. I like the Shopify because it integrates so easily. It's an app-based, meaning like they kind of have their own app store, I guess. And so you can really make your store go where you want it.
Migrate.
Where you want it to be, how you want it to function. But there's also so many options that it can be kind of overwhelming too. There's still some things that it's quirky about. that we're trying to kind of have to figure out little workarounds. But the overall performance of the store and the analytics that we can see and the reports that we can pull way surpasses what Wix was able to do for us.
I agree. I think Shopify has been much better for us than Wix has from a store standpoint.
It's just a lot easier to use.
I think it's worth the extra 10, 15 bucks a month just for, and that's another thing that people look at when they're doing their cost benefit analysis. They oftentimes weight money, dollar value higher than they do their own time.
Yeah.
And so your time, you'll literally never get back. When you spend it, it's gone. And so if you have something that's creating a lot of friction in your life, or it's causing you to spend a lot of time that you don't want to spend, that's worth another $15 a month to me to recover some of that time, recoup some of that time. If it's easier and more linear and it's $15 a month more, I'm in, because it eliminates that pain point. You can always get more money. I've proven that over and over and over again. You can always get more money. You'll never get the time back. So if it's 15 bucks more, but it's much easier to do your job because it's 15 bucks more.
Yeah.
Sold.
I mean,
sold.
I like that. Somebody is very impressed with Hami's knowledge. They expected it from you. They didn't know about her. She's like a secret.
Oh yeah. I'm surrounded by secret weapons. I mean, that's people give me a lot of credit that I don't necessarily deserve, because I'm the face of Bear Independent. And I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. There's a whole team behind me and next to me that you never see.
Someone said behind every good man is a very awesome lady.
But we keep
three of them.
this machine well oiled and running.
Yep.
Like,
well, and even amidst the chaos, and there is some overlap, but everybody understands what their responsibilities are.
Yeah.
Like, what's their purview? Right? And there is some overlap, and it does occasionally become crazy. But hey, if we need this thing done, that's a Renee thing. If we need this thing done, that's a Monica thing. We need this thing done, that's a Fo thing. We need that thing, that's a Hami thing. Yeah. We need this thing, that's a Dudley thing. Somebody's got to talk at the camera. Bear, go talk at the camera. Okay, here I go. So, what else we got?
There was a question about tattoos. I don't know if you want to. It's not really a small biz question, but I think it was really important for the guy. Did you see it?
Me?
Basically, he was saying, like, how do you repent of all of your pagan tattoos and move on with your life?
Yeah, Mr. Guy. Seeing that Bear is covered in tattoos himself, how can I repent for having so many pagan-looking tattoos? I've been thinking about this a lot.
Easy. The guy that got those tattoos is dead. You're a new creation by the blood of Christ.
Right.
Forgive yourself. Stop bringing it up again. It's easy. I'm sorry. It's simple. It's not easy. The most difficult thing I've ever had to do is forgive myself for all the shit that me did to me and that me did to a whole bunch of other people. I have forgiven the vast majority of the things the transgressions that have been done against me. It's the things that I've done to myself and others that take the most forgiveness for me to muster, to be okay with. But the person that got those tattoos, bro, whether they're my tattoos or your tattoos, doesn't exist anymore. That person's dead. You're a new creation. You're made new by the blood of Mashiach. So
I would agree.
Repent is the word teshuva. It means to turn from. Turn from it. Don't do it again. There you go.
Well, I think it's important to note that as opposed to being ashamed of them, they understand that represents a time in your life that you had to go through in order for you to get where you are now. And, it may not, the imagery may not carry the best message, but I think it's more about your life experiences that caused you to get that, and then has caused you now to come to Yah and embrace that.
Yeah, and you have a testimony
Right.
that's unique to you that will allow you to witness and minister to people that otherwise wouldn't be willing to have that conversation, because you've been down that path already. That makes you relatable to them. So repent is to shuv. That means to turn from. So turn from your wicked ways. Now take the fact that you've gone through that, forgive yourself of it, and then use it for good. So the next time somebody's asking you about your tattoos, the conversation shouldn't necessarily be, oh, this is Odin's hammer that I got because of blah, blah. It's, yeah, I did this thing this one time, but now here I am because of this thing. And, oh, man. Oh, you're one of those Jesus guys? Yeah, I am. Let me tell you why. Because it's not some bullshit fairy tale. It's real. Oh.
Storm says a good thing. It says it's like war wounds.
That's
Scars
exactly
from
right.
battle,
Yeah.
long gone.
That's exactly right. All right. Business stuff. That's what tonight is about. Although I'm happy to talk about the word at any time. It's staying on task. That's the point for tonight. That's the mission for tonight. So what do we got?
Patreon's being quiet.
Patreon's being quiet.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Do have a couple of new patrons. Welcome. Let's see. Who is that?
You got a $10 super chat.
Oh, thank you. The Swede and Wyatt Olson, brand new. Thank you.
I've been in concrete, James Watson.
Okay.
I've been in concrete for almost 15 years.
Bless you.
Mainly focused on decorative concrete. With everything going on, I found myself in congested areas. I want to relocate a business to somewhere I wouldn't worry about having to fight my way home. Any ideas on relocation and possible tips? So good news, concrete's everywhere, and people need concrete.
Concrete is the most common man-made product on the face of the earth, and there are 70 cubic yards of it for every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. So for every human being that currently exists, there are 7 truckloads of concrete on the face of the earth. Yeah, it is the most common product. What?
Storm says we need rammed earth instead.
Prove the concept, buddy. So, yeah, concrete is everywhere, including decorative concrete. So I think that to me seems like the type of thing where we're talking about you commute into a population center or the suburbs around a population center while living in the rural areas. Yeah. So you're trading a commute, and you could have I don't know what it takes to do decorative concrete because I've never done it, but I think you're talking like a pickup truck on a trailer.
And
right.
Forms
and so have your stuff on a trailer or preloaded in your truck that's your work truck, and when you go to work, you take your stuff with you, you come home again. And I would use the notoriety that you build in the population centers to build your clientele out here in the rural areas as well, because rural people still need stuff. Like, not everybody lives in a shanty.
No.
There's
some big old shanties out in
there.
But you need a concrete pad for your barn or for your shed.
Yeah, but even the decorative stuff, you know, putting in walkways or stained concrete countertops or concrete porches and patios, for real.
Right. I mean, you might have to expand, if you're used to doing decorative concrete patios and that's all you've been doing for the past 15 years, you might have to expand what you're doing and do a driveway, do a barn pad.
Yep.
Venture out from your norm while still keeping with the material that you know how to work with.
But it's definitely doable. I think it's more about looking for a population center, and it doesn't have to be a large one. It could be a moderate population center that has enough people there to support you to earn a living, and then you use the reputation that you build in that area to then back into the rural areas, because there are definitely some big old shanties around here. People
got some money that just because they're living in the middle of
Listen,
nowhere,
I looked at a
don't
piece of
know.
land earlier today. I called the realtor and I said, "Hey, what do y'all want for that piece of land?" "Well, we feel it's very reasonable. It's $875,000." And I was at a barbecue place recently, and the guy that owns the barbecue place was talking to myself and several other people in there, and he said most of the millionaires that I know never even finished high school.
Mhm.
There's this misconception that people that live out in the country that everybody's a bunch of poor white trash and nobody has any money. You don't buy. And this one piece of land I looked at was one of a dozen that this one family owned. And unfortunately, the patriarch of the family had passed away, and they were breaking up the pieces. That one piece was $875,000. And that family's probably sitting on $8 to $10 million worth of real estate, just land, to say nothing of their cattle and their equipment and their holdings and their bank account balances. And so there's this misconception out here that people don't have money. Not true.
Right. You just have to be somebody that they want to spend their money with, because they are picky.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're very picky.
they definitely spend money with the people they know.
What do you got, Fo?
What's your thoughts on patents?
On patents?
Patent research.
It depends on what it is. If you have a significant development, go for it. But I think in a lot of ways that can contribute to paralysis by analysis. Momentum is something that people really underestimate. So if you have something that is significant, go ahead and patent it. I came up with a new connector for a fiber optic cable. It's significantly different than the current one. Okay, go for it. Especially when it comes to like manufacturing and stuff like that. In the industrial age, China's going to knock your stuff off anyway. It's going to happen. Okay. And at some point, your patent will expire and everybody else in the market's going to make your stuff anyway. Okay. So, yeah, should you not do it, or should you do it? Now, the last time I saw a patent package, and we had several at the wood shop for technologies and construction methodologies, I think the patent package was 114 pages, and it required a lot of documentation and substantiation and a lot of money and a patent attorney. And it's not a quick thing. It's a year and a half, maybe a couple of years. So my question would be, what are you doing in the meanwhile to earn money while you're waiting for the patent to come in? So if you have a real development in intellectual property, go for it. But I wouldn't let it be the only iron I had in the fire. Now, I'm a workaholic. We've already discussed this. The idea of only having one iron in a fire like pains me to think about. It gives me anxiety. I need a half a dozen irons in the fire so that I can neglect two and still have four going. There are definitely times to patent things. I would just make sure that the thing that you're patenting, that you're going to burn a year and a half, 2 years, and several $1,000s, if not tens of thousands of dollars, and a whole bunch of your time is worth patenting. If you came up with a shovel that's slightly different than every other shovel on the market, don't waste your time. Just make your shovel. And there's a concept of a poor man's patent as well. If you've been manufacturing something documented for a period of time, and you can substantiate, hey, we've been making this thing this way for this long. This is our process. This is the way we do it. If you're first to market with it, that holds some weight as well. And you probably want to be first to market with it and make your better shovel that you generate enough revenue to then patent your better shovel, rather than going in debt or taking on a partnership that you probably don't need to be in order to have the money to patent your better shovel. So that's my thoughts on patents. What else we got?
What you have, Renee?
Would you sell a piece of land to finance a new business or just borrow against it? Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. Would you sell a piece of land to finance a new business, or would you borrow against it?
The land is in California. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. What's the business? What's the valuation of the land? How much are you borrowing against it for? I don't like the idea of borrowing against the land. My guess is if you can borrow against the land, that you own the land, so why are you going to go back into debt on the land? How much startup cost? Where did this question come from? Is this a Patreon question?
Nope, it just came on the chat.
It's a YouTube question.
Or,
How much money are they looking to get?
might have been the YouTube question. So I don't see it on here. Oh yeah, it's on the chat.
It's from Old EP. Bear, would you sell a piece of land to finance a new business or borrow against it? Old EP, how much money are you looking for the business? Tank Ace 653, bless you. Thank you. So long and short, without more detail, no, I would not borrow against land to finance a business. If the business is, if you have to have money to finance the business, bank, go to the Small Business Administration, have them guarantee a loan for you. If it's a bad business plan, then you definitely don't need to be borrowing against the land to finance it. The land has inherent value. It's one of the few things I would submit in the near future that's going to maintain or increase its inherent value, because they're not making any more of it. And when the financial markets get crazy, people go to durable, tangible goods like silver, like gold, like land, like timber, like coal, things that they can touch, steel, commodities, things like that. So no, I wouldn't borrow against the land to finance a business. I would take $500 and proof your concept and use the profit from that to continue to grow, like we discussed earlier.
They answer with they could sell for $15,000 or borrow $5,000 for startup costs to cover equipment.
What equipment?
Yeah, there's a lot of detail on that.
Yeah. I don't know.
There was one from one of our friends that said, what do you do with the jitters about starting a new business?
Mm.
To use it as fuel.
Demolish them?
Right.
Action.
What are jitters?
It's got to be something that you're comfortable with.
Well, there's a little nervousness.
I mean,
in
there
the wrist,
is,
but you use that as like,
yeah, I mean, you have to know if you let that fear.
Hold on one second. Old EP, you have $5,000 worth of bullshit in your life right now. Sell it. If you really want your business, go through your house, pull the paintings off the walls, take some guns out of the gun safe, trade in that old vehicle, sell the old Coleman lantern, whatever. You have $5,000.
Junk you have shoved in the closet.
You have sold a car for business.
You have $5,000 laying around. I promise you, you're an American. You have $5,000 laying around. Or cut some timber off the land without borrowing against the land. Use the resources on the land. You don't borrow against the land for $5,000 for a piece of equipment. No, you sell your toys for $5,000. So that's where I'm at with that. Continue. Business jitters.
If you're gonna sell guns, contact us.
Yeah, if you're selling guns though, let me know. Or ammo.
But yeah, I mean, if you allow that fear to conquer you, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah. You have to your support team that, like, when you have those moments of doubt,
right?
Say, like, no, we have a plan, we have a deal, like, we're moving forward, like.
Or no, you're wrong. We're not moving forward.
Wow.
You have the jitters for the right reason. That anxiety is legitimate. This is a bad decision.
I'm thinking after you've all decided it's a good decision, you're just having a bad day and you want to rage quit that day. Like, it's hard. That's the thing. Business is hard, and just because you have doubts and fears and have a crappy day, like that's not a reason to quit. Yeah.
ODP said, "Thank you, Bear. You are wise."
Bless you, Old EP.
I get it. Sell your guns only to Bear.
White Fox asked, "What if any, shipping software do you recommend?
I don't know, babe. What do we recommend?
So we use ShipStation.
I knew that.
Yeah.
That's all I knew, though.
But again,
hold on. I love interrupting you. I'm sorry.
uh-huh.
I feel like the glow off of this effing computer screen makes it look like I'm wearing eyeshadow, and I'm not. So I just want the Bear Nation to know I'm not wearing eyeshadow.
You didn't let Aspen play makeup
I
with
did
you?
not let Aspen play makeup with me.
Okay.
Continue with ShipStation.
Okay. So we use ShipStation.
We didn't make up on
It is great because you can do bulk shipments. Like I can run through my list of orders that, you know, everybody ordered a Cub Pro. One shot, I can validate addresses. I can make a preset, hit click, and all those labels print. That is one of the great things about ShipStation. But kind of going back to which platform do we use, that's also one of the plus sides of Shopify is that you do not need a separate shipping software in order to still get a shipping discount for your items. So Shopify, all these S's, Shopify price-wise is the same as ShipStation. So I think UPS might be a little bit more expensive, but you're talking literal like cents, not dollars. And but the Shopify shipping, the one thing that I don't like about it is it's more of a print one label, go to the next order, print one label, go to the next order. So it's a much slower process, and that's why I like.
You were already spoiled by ShipStation.
ShipStation
is because it's just speedy. It's just a lot speedier.
And it brings up a good point. That's the thing. If you're doing 5 orders or 25 orders or 105 orders,
right?
It's batching.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm huge on is batching, because your setup and your teardown is the same. Like for example, Patreon videos. When I shoot a Patreon video, I tend to shoot a week's worth of Patreon videos, because I can shoot a Patreon video in 20 minutes, setup, teardown, or, plus setup, plus teardown, or I can shoot a week's worth of Patreon videos in an hour and 20 minutes with the same setup and the same teardown. And I'm 1 hour in, one additional hour in, but I'm done. Right. And it doesn't cheapen the involvement at all. I gave you the same amount of time. I answered the same amount of questions. I performed the same scope of work. I just did it in a way that made more sense for me. And so that's kind of the difference between ShipStation and Shopify, is that ShipStation allows you to batch those orders. Right. Where, okay, we're going to ship all Cub Pros right now.
Combine orders. Like we have several customers that one day they'll buy something and 2 days later they buy something else.
Right.
So we can combine those orders and ship it out in one big box as opposed to doing multiple shipments.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But it does cost extra a month to have that service, whereas Shopify.
we do call it Spotify, right? It's not Spotify.
Whereas with Shopify, it is included with their monthly fee anyways.
How much do we pay for ShipStation? Just the product, not for shipping.
Well, because and that's the thing, when you're getting into these online platforms, a lot of them deal with how many orders are coming through your store. So with ShipStation, I believe we are at the gold tier, like
they definitely
pretty sure we're at the right, but they tier you, or you can incur lesser cost by going with the lower plan, and then basically when you max out that plan, then in order to continue, you have to upgrade. And that's how a lot of those kind of outside service platforms work. And I know somebody asked about our inventory software. So we use Shopify for our store. We use ShipStation to ship, And then our inventory management is done through a company called Finale. And Finale is something that I just it kind of fell in my lap. I was researching inventory software, and it was one of the first like paid ads that came across me, and I ended up looking into it and was blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, we need this. We have to have this. But that aspect of the business was the big investment. Like it's, I want to say it's like $300 a month for us to have this inventory software. But oh my gosh, is it a lifesaver?
It's absolutely worth it.
It is worth every ounce of that $300 now that we've gotten everything figured out. Because
but this is worth pointing out, though. We didn't start with the Shopify account,
no,
and the ShipStation account, and the $300 inventory software, and the this and the that, and the $100,000 plus an inventory,
Right.
and the revolving inventory, and the 3 to 5 replenishment orders per week. We didn't start there. We didn't say it's going to take 6.5 figures to run this company. Let's just go get 6.5 figures to make a business. No, it started with $500 of my money I earned while working in a freaking wood shop. And then we built and built and built from there. And we were capable of building from there because we didn't have a debt load.
Right.
Right. And we built and built and built. Originally, inventory was easy because it was 2 kits a week.
Right. Yeah. We had
It was literally a spiral notebook.
20
all the
tourniquets.
software was a spiral notebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the software was a spiral notebook.
I would.
That's
You could
exactly
flip
right.
back and
I would
see every
print
sale.
orders, and I would literally go through each order. Okay, we sold 1 bare fat, tick. We sold 1 minimum, tick.
Yep.
When like I counted each individual order, and then okay, that means we need this many tourniquets, and we need this many.
And we were
chest
doing that
seals
way
and-
longer than most companies would have been doing that.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, like we were like
We did that for a
200
long
of these.
time.
Like,
We did that up until I think we had like 400 orders, and then I'm like,
we should
hell.
invest in this. But the whole point is that we weren't investing in things until they were an absolute
Until it was
need.
It was
viable.
critical mass.
It was,
Yeah.
This was not a choice of like, hey, TJ, should we get this? We were like, we're dying. We need this. And it wasn't because he said no earlier. It was because we were too busy doing the orders that we
Right,
never
to
thought
even-
to like, oh, they make a software for this? Like they could, because we literally were counting orders and doing it. We're just doing it. So like a spiral notebook will get you really far. And then we like upgraded to like the Excel spreadsheet. And I mean, that was like, that was literally for the longest time. And then all of a sudden we were like, software, and it was still like, oh my gosh, it's going to be like $300 a month. We were like,
Right.
wow.
Can we do this?
Yeah.
And because that's not chump change.
Yeah. Over a year.
And yeah, so
Don't spend your profit on.
right. And that's what you really have to pick what this for the size of your business, what's going to be the best thing to help you to grow. And in the beginning, you do play a bit of catch up where,
Yep.
you know,
To get over that hurdle, to go from where you are to where you want to be, requires you to service where you are while setting aside for where you want to be as well. It takes even more work to get over that hurdle, and then to manage the transition. And also, we've talked a lot about debt load. Also, think about extraction of capital. How much money are you taking out of the business? I've taken a used pickup truck out of the business. That's what I've taken out of it. Right?
And even that was like, can we do this?
And that was like, I think we can do it. Used pickup truck time. So we don't operate the businesses necessarily to be cash cows. We understand what the mission statement is: to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experiencing the abundance of his provision and blessing. And by honoring that, it allows us to pay people that we love to do a job that matters, and people are still alive because of it. And we'll continue to grow the business as the Father sees fit, as we see fit. We'll continue to be wise about it, to not go into debt, to not extract capital out of the business, which is going to hinder the business's ability to function. But it's not my goal is not a yacht. My goal is not my lake home. That's not what I want out of business.
No.
Right?
No.
So,
You want to tell about our promo
We
code?
want homestead infrastructure, is what.
yeah. So I want a barn.
Right.
Yes, the promo code is small business. It's fit or small biz, SMALLBIZ. It's 15% off everything in the store at Refuge and Bear Independent,
Right.
other than training.
Right.
So training doesn't go on sale. It just is what it is.
And Matthew Brady asked if we still have the die cut Beholden to No Man sticker. Yes, we do. It would be under the BI swag.
Swag it up. Swag it.
Under Bear Independent.
Swag
At
it.
the stove.
Swag it up. Believe it.
That's the
Believe
thing,
it.
dude, like the Bear Independent store has a
A
lot.
lot more stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, we
In between the
didn't.
links and the
When you started, like, yes, I'll run this store. It was like, oh, that's cool. You can send a couple T-shirts and some patches occasionally. Not here's your team. Here's your monthly budget.
right.
Yeah,
because I started the first store. Like I'm the one that got, but even that I did it because I was basically a stay-at-home mom, and it was the first time I had ever been a stay-at-home mom in my 26-year life or 36-year life, and I went flipping stir crazy. Like
The kids were in school.
I
They
was
weren't
painting
homeschooling.
everything, I was remodeling everything, and I'm like, I need something to do. And he was struggling, keeping up with orders, and
it is not in the store, by the way.
it's not.
It is not in the store, by the way. But go ahead. He was struggling keeping up with orders.
Put that on the list.
Yeah. No wonder we haven't sold any.
Good
Some-
catch.
Some people have been getting them.
Right?
Yeah.
And it might be in products. Maybe we just didn't assign it to the right thing.
Well,
But anyways, so
Finish talking.
he was way overwhelmed and I was way underwhelmed. And I'm like, here, let me help you. And so I set up the first store, and that was great until we started getting a mass amount of orders.
no.
No,
The rifle bear
The
sticker.
rifle bear. Where else?
the like bear cutout that's holding the rifle that says beholden to no man.
Oh, the gray one and the white one.
Yeah.
That was great until we started getting a massive orders.
Right. And then I'm like, okay, this system that we have in place now is not going, it's not going to be the system that we need in order to maintain this amount of sales coming in. And so then that led to, okay, well, what do we need? What do other companies use? What's going to work best for us and make our lives easier, because that's why you pay for a service or for an app or a software, is to, in essence, save your time.
Well, I think it also illustrates the point that what got us to here isn't going to be what gets us to the next thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you should definitely start a business. Well, I don't even know if you should start a business, but if you're considering starting a business, I don't think everybody should start a business, but if you're on this live stream, you're considering it for sure. And if you do start a business, you're going to have to engage in certain moves. There's certain tactics you're going to need to do to get you from nothing to something. And then the next iteration of the business, and Bear Independent has gone through 3 distinct iterations of the business thus far. And the next iteration, honestly, for us is decoupling the sales of first aid kits and training from the personal brand that is Bear Independent. Because again, I don't want to be the ShamWow guy, but also my reach is only so large. And so then you get into things like paid partnerships with influencers or reviewers or people that have podcasts and TV shows and things like that. So what got you this far isn't going to be what gets you farther down the road. You have to be willing to adapt. So
I got to deal with kids stuff for a second.
Probably just need to ask Ellie where the liquid is. If not, I know where it is.
oh my gosh, that kid is a walking tragedy. All right, what else we got? There's no point in whispering. They can hear you.
What else we got? Let's see.
There's another good question that came up.
Let's do sanctified. Thank you, Jason.
How do you spot a Democrat?
Are doing taxes a pain in the ass? They can be. I would recommend if you have a business, don't go to Jackson Hewitt or H&R Block. Get an effing CPA. Pay them. Again, if businesses earn money, so you should have, and don't spend all the money that you earn. Okay, so you should have some money left over. So you get a CPA, and yes, businesses are a pain in the ass, but the good thing is they're a pain in your CPA's ass, not your ass.
There's a lot of things you can write off, but get with your CPA about what you can do.
A Schedule C, you can.
And
This
better
is not
put it-
tax advice, but you can. If you buy new boots, that's a uniform. New jeans and a Carhartt jacket, that's a uniform. The wear and tear on your vehicle, your CPA will tell you whether it's going to be mileage or if you want to just take a gross deduction on that, and accelerated rate of depreciation. And if you bought a tractor, there's a write-off there. And dude, get a CPA. Yes, taxes are a total pain in the ass. That's why you pay somebody else to do them.
Yeah, and put aside more than you think you're going to need. That way it doesn't hurt so bad when you pay it, and the rest is like a tax return. You're like, oh, look, I got to keep money.
What do you got there?
My apologies, Matthew. We'll get that sticker put in the store because, yes, we
I
have
told him
them.
to email us if we get
Yeah.
it.
What if the things you're good at, you don't feel like you were overly unique or special per se?
You can always make it special.
So you're talking about something that's like commoditized. Listen, there's lots of barbers. There's lots of quick lube places. There's lots of tire change places and mechanics. There's lots of truck drivers. There's lots of, the world needs people, man. That's fine. There's lots of people.
Cheaper, faster.
Yeah.
Pick one.
Exactly. Better, cheaper, faster. What's your thing? Figure out what it is.
Yeah, not everybody is going to have the most unique barber that does the craziest haircuts.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just do a good cut and you're on the corner of Main and First and you can do it for $12 and
Yeah,
every guy who needs to get his haircut comes in there and your chair is full all day. Like,
exactly. Just execute. And this is the thing. We tend to take for granted what we know how to do. Like, prepping for me is something I don't even think about anymore because it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. It's actually more, it's more difficult for me to try to explain to y'all why I do what I do and my convictions behind it than it is to just do it. And so what we know how to do, we often take for granted because, or drumming. I'm like, what do you mean people don't know how to play triplets at 360 BPM with every limb of their body? That's stupid. And how come you don't understand 7/8 time signatures? And if we go to a 4/4, but we drop a single 16th note, now we're in 15/16, which makes it feel like this. And I'm like, I take that for granted because I know how to do it. I've been doing it for 20 years. But to other people, it's wizardry and magic.
Right.
And so just because it might not be special to you doesn't mean it isn't special to somebody else.
oh, I like that. Beat them with integrity and work ethic. Costs you nothing.
There you go. 5-1. That's exactly right.
And it's something that so many people take for granted.
So neat. Customer service.
Yeah.
Just-
I mean, and
customer service.
but so many, like, they just don't do it. Luna says, I have a small business now going on 7 years that is service-based.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I homeschool and just had a baby boy and this whole pandemic thing with the vaccines for everyone and soon vaccine passports, I am not inclined to keep being a doula and heading into the hospital. I also have the issue that births are unpredictable, and with everything else on my plate, I don't know if I could venture to another business. I do have thousands of emails from moms that could potentially be clients. I am just not sure how to monetize what I've built. I also have had several doulas come learn and then steal
Stop.
my ideas.
Stop. This is what I was going to say. You need to stop doing the work, and you need to start managing the workflow. You send people into the hospitals to go to places to do the things that you yourself might not be comfortable with doing, but your people do it for you.
You are the head doula, and you are the subordinate
chief executive doula.
Well, there's so many other things. Like chief executive doula means you're training doulas. Now she said something at the end there about people stealing her ideas. That's like the greatest form of flattery, is somebody stole your ideas. They didn't steal your ideas. Monetize that. Train them. Teach them. Make doula bags. I mean, doulas
online courses
for moms, for doulas, for there's so many other things. Get with midwives and figure out what people need. I mean, there's things like placenta encapsulation. There's things like breast milk jewelry. I mean, there are so many things. Working with another midwife and only doing home births. I mean, there are people who only do that. Now, having babies and doulaing is not always easy, but you've got the knowledge, you've got 7 years of experience. You can't replace that, and use that knowledge and teach others and tell your story and figure out what those needs are. You've got this list of moms, you know the things that they need. Figure out what you would want and go provide that for them.
And start a YouTube channel talking about all of that while you're doing it. That builds your brand, your personal brand, and your notoriety, so people know when you need to learn doula stuff, you go to XYZ doula school or whatever.
And at the end, she talked about like stealing her ideas. You're flipping it. You're doing a YouTube channel and you're monetizing the fact that you are sharing your ideas and you are sharing your experience.
Right.
And once people know that you've got ideas and you've got experience that they want to steal, they will then pay you to actually teach them things. You have to give a bunch in the beginning before you can monetize it.
Right.
Well, and look, I want to just say this. I think it's cool when I watch other prepper channels and I hear somebody go, yeah, action beats anxiety. I'm like, I wonder where they heard that. That's cool. Right. Or like stack it to the rafters. Stack it to the rafters is something that Pastor Joe Fox said in passing in one video one time. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly it. That's it. So I say it constantly. I didn't steal his idea. I'm paying homage to him through it. Right. And so also, and I want to, this might hurt some people's feelings, but I'm really good at this. Ideas don't mean shit unless you do something with them. Everybody has good ideas. Everybody has good ideas. They mean nothing unless they're actionable, unless you do something with them. In fact, I would submit that a good idea that's simply entertained is more dangerous than not having one at all, because it can be a real distraction. Go ahead, babe.
I would agree. Well, and this kind of goes with Luna. It kind of goes with concrete. So many people get comfortable in what they're doing or the service that they're providing, and their complaint isn't necessarily with doing that job. The complaint is like Luna's. I don't want to have to go into a hospital. I don't want to have to worry about vaccinations. And so it's taking those obstacles and looking at your business and seeing how you can develop your business to work around those obstacles. And it may change the fundamental of what you're doing, like your position in that job. But in the grand scheme of things, you're still doing something that you're passionate about, that you love to do. You're just having to go about it a kind of different way.
I agree.
You have to be adaptable.
Adaptable is the word, and it gets entirely to what I was going to say. I think it's awesome that, you know, you have a young child and that there's kids, and that the COVID world, everybody's in COVID world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got something. I got 3 businesses, a ministry, a wife, 3 kids, a homestead, a faith group that I'm a part of. You know, I can come up with 1,000 reasons why I really shouldn't do anything tomorrow, or why it's going to be difficult. Everybody's got that. Excuses are commoditized. They don't mean shit. You just have to execute. You just have to figure out how to execute. And if you can figure out how to execute while being adaptable so that you're honoring the knowledge that you have, you're good to go. Everybody's got excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got problems. And it's not that I'm not cheapening you and your experience. I'm just putting us all on the same level playing field.
Right.
Everybody's got things.
The fact that she doesn't want to go to the hospital also means her clients don't want to go to the hospital.
Right.
So at the same time that you're not wanting to go to the hospital and you're not wanting to have to deal with all of the mess that involves because of this pandemic, your clients are thinking the same thing. So helping them find those different avenues, or providing your services via Zoom, there's all kinds of ways. Teaching husbands, because they can go there, and training them up more, training up, you know, more birth classes. Like, I've done
a husband training class is a great idea.
There's a whole thing.
Do you know how many friggin' suckers are going to get roped into that? Honey, you are going to the husband doula class.
It's an actual thing. It's called the Bradley method. It's called husband coach childbirth. But most husbands aren't very good at it. And so, yeah, to have more training classes, because most birth classes, if anybody who's done them, are like 24-hour, you know, like one weekend kind of a thing, like 2 8-hour classes, or it's like 6 weeks of 1 hour. It's not enough if you're going to go give birth during a pandemic. So expand that, teach more.
You know, I could see a week-long intensive pandemic birth training, I don't know, live event, whatever. I think people would go to that.
Newell Cherry said, you told a story the other day about hay bales. It was a wonderful illustration of being able to pivot.
Yep.
And Jan Blackwater, would pivoting heavy equipment construction company into wind solar be something that you would be open to doing a couple of
consulting calls for a fee?
Yeah.
For JM Blackwater, yes. For anybody else, no, because JM Blackwater has been a very significant supporter of the show and the businesses for a long time. So JM Blackwater, shoot me an email, admin@Bear-Independent, and we'll get in touch and we'll talk. It will be for a fee, but that's not something that I even do anymore, but I will do it for you because you're a rock star.
Right.
So,
but like Bear told me to email in the subject line or something so you don't get lost.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd get lost.
And I just to be clear, I do think that that is a good pivot to make right now, because we know now that the Democrats are back in business. There's going to be another outpouring into renewable energy. So I think that's a good sector to be in, whether we ideologically agree with it or not. And I do agree with it on a small scale.
Yeah.
On utility scale, we're not there yet, but decentralized small scale, it makes a ton of sense.
Saying nationwide, you're going to be able to go to renewable energy. I don't think so.
No.
I think on a localized small level, yes, because it all depends on the resources within that area.
Hey, listen, the sun doesn't shine 24/7, 365.
Exactly, and the wind doesn't blow.
I know. I'm aware.
So,
you know why it's so windy in Oklahoma? Because Texas sucks and Kansas blows.
know who's here?
Oh.
A1P.
I saw A1P. What's up, A1P?
He says he works 9 to 5 twice a day.
There you go. Specific to the entire team, how do you set up your communication so that you're not completely overwhelmed with text, emails, etc.?
Let us know.
When you figure that out, Storms, you let us know. But
we have a lot of groups.
Yeah, we have a lot of group chats.
It's a divide and conquer. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's 3 of us in the admin, sometimes 4 of us in the admin email box. And we all have our own little tags and our own little sub boxes. And yeah, and so, you know, if I'm in the inbox and I see something that comes through from Monica, I automatically tag her in it. Same thing if she sees something that's specifically for me, she tags me in it. And through that, we're able to kind of divide and conquer.
We have a weekly meeting.
We have weekly meetings. Sometimes.
Hold on. I'm a stickler on these effing meetings because they were all so like, we have to have a weekly meeting. I was like, fine, I'll do it.
Remember, you try to walk out 5 minutes before the meeting.
That's right. That's right. But now I'm saying, you tell me there's going to be a meeting, you would bet your ass there's going to be a meeting. We're going to talk for an hour, whether you want to talk or not. So,
because I'm always like, guys, I got so much crap to do. Like, I can't spare an hour.
you said you wanted a meeting.
It never lasts an hour. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We go
it's
like 3
always.
hours. We do make him take us to lunch sometimes.
Yeah, and then Dudley just like disappeared. He's like, I got a baby. I'm out. I'm out. See y'all later ish sometime one day. So, but yeah, I'll tell you, for me, from the epicenter of this, I have multiple layers of insulating from the world at large trying to contact me. And that's done very intentionally. Very intentionally. I regularly block people that end up with my phone number if they abuse the privilege. If they text me too much or signal chat me too much. They just one day they're like, send me an email like, hey, my thing stopped working. I'm like, yeah, you texted me 4 times out of context in one day while I was in the middle of trying to run 3 businesses and a ministry, and on the phone with consulting clients and all of that, and you keep blowing me up over random bullshit. No, they're done.
The reason we say admin,
because I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth for the thousands of emails that come in every day, nor do I need to be involved in them.
Right.
And so I'm not getting back to hire good people and let them do their jobs. I'm not involved with that. And I'm really not trying to sound like I'm the most important person in the world, because I'm not, but I do know that if I'm distracted all day, nothing will get done. And if I don't get anything done, nobody else gets anything done. And if we don't get anything done, nobody eats.
Well, and people don't often know how we're separated. Like, people don't know that I'm in charge of this and Harmony's in charge of that. And so a lot of times people are messaging or texting T and asking him questions when he's going to have to turn around and ask us. So it's much easier if it comes in through us, because there's 4 people in one inbox. Most likely one of us is going to be able to answer it. And if it's something else, then, and it's that important, then we'll pass it on to him. Believe me, a lot of things get run by him often. And that's why we have meetings, and that's why we have chats. And that's why we have all of those kind of things. So, but going directly to him, either one is going to get lost or 2, you're going to text him while he's in the middle of making a video, and then he'll get mad at you. He's mad at you, and then you won't hear from him. And it may have been a good question. So if you go through proper channels, you're more than likely going to get the answer that you want, as opposed to trying to figure out a way around.
Yeah. I would
Definitely
much agree. Much agree. You know, he's not going to answer you when you email and say, when's my bear fat going to ship? That's going to be me. Or Phil.
I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
No idea.
He has no clue.
If I know anything about your order,
coming in, or
things are terribly wrong.
Yeah,
right.
No.
Yeah, he knows about an order when I get like a-holes.
Yeah, you don't want him to know that you.
No, and it's usually, it's not because I'm saying, hey, honey, I need you to handle this for me.
Yeah.
It's because
walks
I'm
by.
pissed off about it, and I come home and I'm like, "Arr, arr, arr, arr," and he's like, give me his phone number. I'll call him right now. And he does. So.
Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, if he walks by when we happen to be talking about something.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a phone call.
Yep.
Or if you're pissy, I just refund your order.
Yeah.
And say, better luck next time.
They tried texting you at 867-5309, but Jenny answered.
Yeah. You know, and it turns out that she's actually Jesse's girl. So, yeah.
Let's see. Jonathan Lisa. Good day, Bears. I'll try to be brief, so forgive me if I only have a vague description. I'm starting my own business teaching first aid.
Okay.
It's called Family Second because you know God first. I plan to teach locally, going door to door, offering CPR, Stop the Bleed, and the March algorithm at cost, all in one class. Once training is done, I plan to ask them to subscribe to my Patreon for continued education. I'm not sure if Patreon stores the actual videos or if I have to reroute it from another site like YouTube. Any advice on anything will be helpful. Also, any biblical approaches I should consider as well. Thank you in advance. You're doing awesome. Also, I don't have the desire to build kits for sale, so if you don't mind giving my folks a discount, I appreciate it.
All right, so let's work in reverse order. First of all, yes, your folks can have a discount. Done. Get with sales. A Bear Independent will make that happen.
That's an affiliate. We
Yep.
do those.
Yep. Next, are there biblical principles for this? Yes. Cast not your pearls before swine, and shake the dust off of your feet if a house won't receive you, and move on to the next one. The cast not your pearls before swine thing is very important. Don't waste time on, and this is a sales thing, but it's a spiritual thing. Don't waste time on people that aren't going to buy. Okay. Working in reverse order. Patreon does not host videos. It allows you to post videos. And so your videos can be private videos. No, not private, unlisted videos on YouTube, or hidden videos on Vimeo that you then share the link to on Patreon. Content doesn't live at Patreon. It's curated by Patreon. And you keep that content available only through the paywall that is Patreon by having it unlisted or hidden, unlisted on YouTube, hidden on Vimeo, accessible only with the link from Patreon. I would encourage you to know what at least the next 6 weeks of your continuing education is going to be, so that you're not scrambling to put that together, so that you have that pre-recorded. Right. It's done. It's up there. It exists there. So that's an easy sell when you're talking to somebody. You're not talking out of your ass like, yeah, and we'll have continuing education.
Right. In a week, I plan on having a video.
Oh, yeah, there. Like what? Well, it's funny you should ask, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have that pre-recorded already. And interact with your people on Patreon. Once you have those people are literally supporting you. So what do they want? Like I do a monthly post at least once monthly on Patreon called "Give Me Your Questions." What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about? What's interesting to you? Because I'm here for you. You are paying money to be here, and that money in large part helps me support my existence and pay the people that we love to do the jobs that they do. So let's make sure you're getting the bang for your buck. So once you get people who are signed up on your Patreon, what do they want? What do they need to know? Now, back to your original business model of going door to door. I don't necessarily know that that's the best way to execute classes. It might work to raise awareness, but think about the amount of time that's spent to teach somebody one-on-one, knowing that one-on-one is the most most effective way to train somebody, but it's the least efficient, versus going door to door to sell 20 slots for a class and then doing a class where there's one of you and 10 of them or 20 of them. You're now getting, let's say your class costs $100 and it takes an hour to do. Well, if you get 3 people in one day that say, yes, I want your class one-on-one, you made $300 an hour setup, a half an hour teardown, and you had to rent the space, say that cost you $100, you made $900 in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So your rate is $450 an hour instead of, what do we say, $300 in a day.
Right.
And say it's a 10-hour day, you made $30 an hour. And so you've significantly increased your revenue per hour by teaching, rather than one-on-one, by teaching even to a small group. You probably can't do that at first because you don't have the brand awareness. But as you build that brand awareness, I would definitely look at like homeschooling groups. You know, what are existing groups of people that you can offer your services to?
Right, that you're gonna, you know, hit one location and have 10 signups.
Right.
Also, with door to door, you're assuming that everybody's door you're knocking on is as tactical as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because the majority of people, they know what CPR is, but they do not know what stop the bleed is. They do not know what the March algorithm is. And so you're going to have to figure out a way to put those things in layman's terms.
Make it real for them.
And make it real for them, so that they understand the actual value that you are bringing them. Because if you just tell that, if you go up and knock on a door and say, hey, would you like to learn how to stop the bleed, or, you know, how to properly execute the March algorithm, they're going to look at you like, huh? And so you need to go ahead and have those things in place. And I think having a platform like Patreon, where you already have some pre-recorded videos, or even like a demonstration video that you can say, hold on, let me show, like, this is the kind of things we talk about.
I think we had an example of this today, talking about our kits. Our kits can save you from a gunshot wound to the shoulder with the tourniquet. But our kits, the very first lives saved with our kits was from a car accident.
Right.
And what happened in Dallas or Fort Worth, where's it today? Like 100-car pileup. You're more likely going to use it because your kid drops a knife on their foot when they're trying to cut an apple, or, you know, you get in a car accident, then you're going to use it because you got literally, you know, shot in the left arm. Like it's more than likely, because that's what people are doing. Yeah, I mean, police officers is totally different. Military is totally different. But the average person buying our kits, that's not what they're using it for. So going on the level of like, how are you really going to use this product? How do you really need to use this class?
Mm-hmm.
You know, talking about people's kids, that kind of a thing. It's very different taking it to their real life, everyday stuff. Right. Instead of tactical.
Good input. I was going to say that same thing, which is why you should definitely have a first aid kit in your car, whether it's ours or anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And this, you were saying.
Oh, and this is one of the reasons, because like when we promote Bear Facts, we tend to promote them as a casualty, a gunshot, that sort of life-saving equipment. And the reality of it is, it's, you know, it could potentially save you from a car wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another avenue that we as a company need to focus our marketing on.
Yep.
Because your plain Jane person says, why do I need a gunshot kit? Yeah, I'm not going to get shot. Or the likelihood of me getting shot is like way low. And so they're not going to buy it. But if you can market to what their need is, what they want to be prepared for, because I can guarantee everybody's been in a car wreck. I've been in like 8. So I should be surrounded by kits.
I think
you should just be wearing kits as body armor.
Right? But that's kind of that adaptability, is you figure out, oh, not everybody is a gun-toting
Yeah,
prepper.
You got to make it relative.
Right.
Why does a single mom with 2 kids under the age of 5 need to know what the March algorithm is?
Right.
Right. I got an answer for that.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing your homework for you.
Eating hot dog at dinner. Hot dog at dinner.
So Dale Dodson said some people say do what you love and you never work a day in your life. My father always said if you turn a hobby into a job, all you really accomplished is destroying a hobby. So which side do you fall on? Man, it depends. There's a reason why y'all don't get all the drumming videos you continuously ask for, because that's mine. Because I give you so much of myself elsewhere. Oh my gosh. Okay.
The lamb is freezing cold.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I gotta feed the babies.
So drumming, that is my hobby, is not something that I'm interested in monetizing, but it's also something that, praise the Father, I don't have to monetize because we've got all these other revenue streams.
But it was once monetized in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. At one time, it was very monetized in my life. I did it as my job. So now it's a hobby. I do think that you should do something, as we discussed earlier, that you love for work, but you have to understand that sooner or later it's going to become a job. It's going to be work. Even if you love it.
Break your soul. If it's going to break your soul, then pick a different hobby.
Even if you love it, it's going to be work sooner or later. So I wouldn't destroy a perfectly good hobby so that you can earn some money on it. But look at, man, you think professional golfers are like, oh man, this sucks. Or what about people that are professional fishermen? These are things.
Days that suck, I'm sure.
Yeah, like look at a bit, athletes, professional athletes. They're definitely putting in work. They're getting paid a lot of money to do it by and large, but they're definitely putting in a lot of work. They wouldn't do it. Most of them wouldn't do it if they didn't love it. There's a few out there that openly admit, hey, I'm just doing this for the money. I don't love playing this basketball game.
They don't last very long, though.
They don't last very long. You got to love it.
Yeah, that's every moment.
But you're going to have to spend your time doing something to earn money. Might as well be something you enjoy doing. Up to the point that you're earning enough money doing something that you love that you don't have to monetize your other hobbies. You can keep those for you. I'm very passionate about saving people's lives. We built a business around that.
I find it an aspect of it. To me, it's like finding an aspect of it, not necessarily the whole hobby. So somebody who, like the girl who was a doula, who loves birth, she can be a doula. She doesn't have to do it as everything. She could just do placenta encapsulation, just a small portion of that, and specialize instead of it. You're still involved in that thing you have a passion about, but pick a very specific specialty of it that doesn't ruin the whole thing for you. Because I do think there are things that, especially people who are artists, I think if you're an artist, there are hobbies that you have that should not be monetized because it like steals your soul, it just literally steals your soul. But I like to make spreadsheets. Like they make me happy. They do. Out of business. They really do. You'll see. So I make spreadsheets for our family, for homeschooling, for everything. For everything. There's a spreadsheet and it's color coded. And it literally is like a hobby of mine to do that kind of thing. And the fact that I can monetize that and be paid for it too is really cool. It certainly doesn't ruin it for me. But I'm not an artist. Except for my spreadsheets have colors on them that TJ can't see. But they, so
they are art in their own right.
They are an art in their own right, but it's very different. So I think that there definitely is a don't use the one thing that is makes you who you are, as your thing, but find a way to monetize that separately or teach, because teaching is very different than the doing. Yeah. If you've got the experience doing it, you can teach it and have that be like a separate box in how you're doing it. So that would be my thoughts.
If you want to do something, do it. Don't make excuses and say, well, I can't do this or I can't do that or money's holding me back.
I wish that.
You can always quit.
Yeah.
If only I win the lottery, then I can start my
Oh
business.
my gosh. You know one of the things I do if I had the Powerball? Camera's on you.
But that
now,
holds
Phil.
so many people back from doing what they want to do.
It's
Is
paralysis by
You feel
analysis.
you get that fear, and you got to change that fear and put it into fuel, and you got to overcome the fear and just step out and do it.
And fail.
Do the things. Yeah, don't be afraid
Yeah,
to fail.
and fail. is a
Fail many
great point.
times.
And fail. Who
And
cares?
fail and fail and fail
People-
and learn.
people think-
Learn from your failures. That's the biggest thing. You can fail, and then you can do the same failure again. If you don't learn from when you fail to correct that,
Yep.
as you fail and correct, you eventually take off,
But too,
and
when
you
fail,
won't fail as often.
When you fail, talk to
So-
somebody who is doing what you want and figure out where you failed. Because
After action report.
We, if you're new at something, don't necessarily understand where the failure was. Sometimes it's in an expectation, not in reality. You know, if you expect, like I said earlier, if you expect for a business to be able to pay your bills in the first 2 years, if the business didn't fail, if you didn't make money in the first 2 years, you had a bad expectation.
Great point.
Very different thing than actually failing at what you're doing. And maybe you did totally fail at what you did. And that's okay. But you need to actually go out and do it and have a mentor. Find somebody who's, earlier you said, like, instead of going and starting your own business, go and work for somebody else for a year or
Yep.
two and figure out the ins and outs and do it without having the capital, without having the outlay.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't have the exposure either.
Yeah.
And you're getting paid to learn.
Yeah.
I've done this a bunch in my life.
Yeah.
Hey, that person knows the thing that I want to know. I'm going to go work for them. I'm going to learn while I'm there. I'm going to be an asset for them while
Right.
I'm there, but I'm going to learn while I'm there and get paid to do it.
People often think that there's something negative about going and working for somebody, knowing that the whole point is that you want to branch out and do it later. Be honest with the person. Tell
Yep.
them that's what you want to do. Most people who are good tradesmen, who are good bosses, will honor that and want to teach you, as long as while you're there, you are the first person who gets there and the last person who leaves.
Exactly right.
That you're providing them more than they're giving back to you, or at least equal, so that
Mhm.
they understand that, and they'll pour into you.
Yep.
Like, they will be like, okay, I see myself when I was first getting, they will pour into you, but you got to provide that. And that's where I think a lot of people fail again with they want to work 9 to 5. If you want to work 9 to 5, don't own your own business.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't. And I've said this to people all the time. There's nothing wrong with not being an entrepreneur. There's nothing wrong with being an employee. Literally being an employee. You have like almost zero risk. You just get paid. And when you go home, you literally are off the clock.
Turn it off.
And it's nothing. And if that's who you are, because you're also an artist at night and you need to be able to shut off your day to be an artist at night and have a hobby that you love, lower your expectations of your lifestyle and be an employee and love your life.
But that
And who cares?
That goes back to the beginning of the chat when Beckmaster was talking about how he's working for a guy, and you spin it on me.
That's how this works.
That when he's working for a guy and he's using his tools until he can buy his own tools and then go work on his own and do side projects.
Mhm.
So might be that's what it takes is you get experience. You use someone else's tools until you make enough money to buy your own tools, and then go start your own side hustle, side business, side projects. And that builds into your own business.
We said we sound
or-
like a Nike commercial.
Or just be that guy that I talked to a guy at the men's retreat who's a truck driver who says it's so much better to be a truck driver for somebody else and
Yep.
not own your own trucks. This way, if they break down, they get to fix them, not you.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's some advantage of working for somebody
Oh,
else.
for sure.
In some
Absolutely.
industries.
Yeah, employers have all the risk, honestly. Employers have all the risk. It's something important to understand.
You got to expect that too.
For sure. And not only do you have all the risk, you have all the responsibility that's creating that risk in the first place. You don't just, so you can have a one-man show. In fact, a really good podcast is called 7 Figure Small. And it's all about entrepreneurs that are a single person business, or they have one assistant, usually virtual. 7 Figure Small. It's a good small business podcast. And it's entirely possible that you can gross 7 figures in a year as a solopreneur, as a one-off. But once you bring on employees, you have all the risk. You have all the risk, and you need to understand that. and you need to not resent it. It needs to just be part of who you are and part of how you do business. I did want to comment. I saw Sanctified talking about how one day they'd like to be big enough that Sanctified is the only thing that they do. And what I would encourage you all to do is you've certainly benefited from a partnership with Bear Independent, as has Bear Independent benefited from a partnership with y'all. Find other brands and other channels to work with. And you've already demonstrated that you have the ability to produce the drawings, to produce not just the content, but the product. You've done this over and over and over again repeatedly. So now that's a thing that you can market to other YouTubers. You could be a YouTuber merch fulfillment specialist. Hey, what are your ideas? We'll sketch them up. We have inside design. We handle fulfillment. We're small batch, made in America. Yeah, you can use Teespring, but our quality is better. Yeah, you could use, whatever other T-shirt company, but we're real human beings. You should work with us. And by the way, here's a reference. Email Bear at Bear Independent, and he'll tell you we're good to go. Cool. Now you get your second one on, and then you bring on your third one, and now you've got 2 references for the third one. You bring on your 5th one. You've got 4 references for your 5th one, and then all of a sudden you've got a button on your page that says people that we work with, and it's filled with all these YouTube brands and other solopreneurs and small businesses, and that's your go-to, that's your niche, because you have an ethos as a company. You're already doing that. You already understand how to do it, and you're only going to get better at it as you keep doing it. And so that would be my recommendation to y'all, is keep doing that. It does, and we'd love it if you keep doing it with us, but do it with more and more and more people as well. Because what's happening is the brand awareness of Bear Independent is driving people to Sanctified Supply Co. It's not the only thing that's doing that, but it's certainly a contributing factor. So the more brands you have outside of your own that are driving people to Sanctified Supply Co., the better. So continue to foster those relationships with other people like us or whoever, and it's going to positively affect your bottom line. It's going to be good for you. You'll be able to transition from doing something else plus Sanctified Supply Co. to doing Sanctified Supply Co. So that's my cool story. You look tired AF. Thanks, man. It's my eyeshadow.
We need a makeup artist.
It's your eyeshadow. Okay. Babies are fed. I'm back. What did I miss?
What's up, Parakeet Salt? Yeah, you did miss the whole damn stream, bro. It's okay. You got 3 hours to listen to tomorrow. Dr. Trevor, what's up, Doc? What's up, Doc?
There was another good question I thought, and I gotta go back for it.
Thank you, Roman Jeeper. Thank you.
Thoughts on possible future illegal business, guns, ammo, body armor, manufacturing.
All of it. Possible future illegal business? Fill in the blank.
Yeah, I don't like. Do we think that's going to become illegal?
Listen, there was an assault weapons ban in the United States for a decade.
No.
Yeah.
So it's a magazine capacity ban, and it's definitely possible.
Yeah, but the question
But I
is,
just don't
who
understand.
gets started as a business? Like,
No.
like I wouldn't do it to like make money right now. Will it eventually be underground or something? Could be, but I think you already need to be kind of good at it.
Well, that gets back to
Very
the question of should I start an FFL that we
Right.
opened the show with. No, because existing FFLs can't get product. If they can't get it, why would you get product? Why would you build a business around selling body armor, knowing that the supply of body armor is A, limited, and B, the legality of it is likely to become limited as well? There's no longevity in that. I would look in the other direction. It's like, all right, if there's a chance that the pendulum swings towards granola eating hippies, How good can I get at making granola? How good can I get at singing Kumbaya around a fire? How much, how many man skirts can I braid out of hemp cordage? I'd start thinking in that direction. You can have your own convictions, your own beliefs. You can firmly believe that, yes, we support the Second Amendment and all men are created equal, so forth and so on. You can do all of that and sell man skirts to hippies made out of hemp cordage. I'll give you an example of this. Where I grew up in upstate New York, Yasgur's farm, where the original Woodstock was at, was incredibly close to our house. And I sold firewood year round. And I would save my campfire wood, my softwood, my pine, my hemlock, my spruce for the summer, for the hippies, when they would come up every year and have their big Woodstock reenactment. And I sold it to them at an increased price, because part of business is, what is somebody willing to pay for it? And they were willing to pay an increased price for it, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they were happy to have it. It was good, dry, seasoned wood, but it was campfire wood. It was burn outside wood, not burn inside wood. I don't agree with those people. The Woodstock movement and the hippie movement, I don't agree with them at all. But we do agree that I will trade you a dump truck full of firewood for $300. And so I'd bring a dump truck full of firewood and they'd hand me $300, and we would wash, rinse, repeat for a week or two at a time every August in upstate New York. I don't have to agree with those people at all, but I can certainly take their money, and I have no ethical issues with engaging in straight commerce. So
Can you tell them tonight's code again?
Tonight's code is small biz, SMALLBIZ, small biz, and that's 15% off everything.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, we had 2 questions. Jason M said, no, the CLC farm. What do you think of a pack stove company? And then Dragon Shield said, what do you think about the subscription boxes for a startup business?
I think a pack stove company is precisely what we've already discussed, and I think it's a good product, but I don't think I have the name brand recognition to sell 1,000 of them to get it up off the ground, which is why you need to be partnered, just like Sanctified Supply Co. does. You need to be partnered with as many different brands and avenues as possible, because I don't have the pull to create somebody's business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that. It doesn't exist. And people misunderstand this greatly. People are like, you have 110,000 YouTube subscribers. If even 10% of them bought, then that'd be 11,000 sales. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. A tenth of 1%. A tenth of 1% are those that regularly convert.
We don't even have 11,000 sales.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And
if
and
we
that's,
don't, you can't through us.
And that's fine. I'm not complaining about that in any way. But people that don't have that audience don't understand. Yeah, their expectations are wrong. They look at that number and they go, well, if half of my people bought, we'd have to be having this conversation from my 14,000 acre ranch right now. Okay. And the purpose of building the audience, again, is not to become the sham wow guy. And so I think the pack stove is a good idea, but it's not a good idea that's going to get off the ground simply because Bear Independent talks about it. If it is a pre-existing business, then Bear Independent can increase its sales, assuming that it's a good product, and it is. Just like Sanctified Supply Co. We didn't found Sanctified Supply Co. We didn't seed them with money. They took the initiative on their own. We saw that. The Father put them in front of us, and we're like, oh, these are good people. Let's pour into them. And it's been a mutual relationship. That's something else. We get approached all the time by people to pimp their stuff. And their idea of a mutual relationship is, we'll give you a couple $100 maybe, and you talk nice about our stuff. This is called influencer marketing. And to a greater or lesser extent, we engage in that. but we engage in it with people that actually believe in our products because we have a product that's worth selling. I get 3 to 5 emails a week from people that make bullshit that are like, Bear, talk nice about our stuff and we'll give you some money. No, I don't think I will. So a pack stove, good idea. Will Bear Independent get it off the ground? No, it needs to be off the ground to begin with, which is something that's already been discussed outside of this venue.
Yeah.
What was the other question?
A subscription box.
I think a subscription box is a great move as long as you have the awareness to get it out there. In fact, we had a guy at our church that in North Texas that was one of the original founders of Mystery Tackle Box. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's an absolutely great idea. And subscriptions are one of those things. We were signed up for Mystery Tackle Box, and we didn't unsign up from it we let it go for 6 or 8 months longer than we needed to.
I had a whole cabinet full of the boxes with
I
all
mean,
the tackle in it because I had no place.
Auto ship
no
is your
extra.
best friend and your worst enemy
Right,
at the
yeah.
same time.
Because
you have to call and
You
change
forget,
it.
and
or log in, or
it just keeps coming. And then you're like, oh, snap, I got to call them. Got to call them and cancel that. And then you forget, and the next one shows up. So,
right. So I think it's a great idea. And the business model is essentially you're buying overstocked, otherwise commoditized products for pennies on the dollar, putting it in the box and selling it back to people that are your target audience. You need awareness for that. But the subscription model, especially in 2021 and going forward, I think is going to flourish because people are, whether it's a subscription to a physical product or a subscription to content, people are starting to become much more choosy about what they receive and how they receive it. I actually heard Gary Vaynerchuk today, who for the last decade has been saying, do not put any of your content behind a paywall. All of your best stuff should be out there for free. Put your best stuff out for free, and that'll build brand recognition, and that will convert into sales on the back end because your marketing and your branding is so strong that people will give you money because they love you. I heard him say today, actually, he goes, I'm actually considering having a Patreon channel starting at $20 a month. He goes, I think the internet is shifting, and I don't think that open source content is really worth anything anymore because there's so much noise now. It's cluttered that, it does make sense to have your best stuff behind a paywall. And I'm like, son of a bee, I beat Gary to it 2.5 years early. So
you really paid attention.
I really paid attention. No, I went with my gut. So Jay Morris, bless you. Thank you, Jim Morris.
Oki's comment. I feel you, Oki. I feel you.
all the time. Sometimes you got to be careful on those options.
Oh, man. So I do think a subscription is a good idea unless it's thongs. Apparently that seems to be an issue.
Making sure you're making a profit too, because I think some people put those, it's like a great idea, but like you said, they're not really getting off brand. They're really wanting to
right. Well,
pick what they would want, and sometimes you got to get what you can get.
Or they think making $10 off of it is great until they figure out, oh, it takes me an hour to pack this thing.
And you just made yourself a job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you got to figure all that stuff out.
Sanctified is going to get into branded thong deliveries. So this is.
No, she's carrying SK shirts.
She's wearing SK stuff.
SK merch.
No.
They are expanding.
Shut in the left quarterly pay spreadsheets.
Yes.
Oh, man. All right. So we've got a few more minutes. We're pushing 3 hours on this live stream. So is there one more question? Another question
Somebody
or two?
just asked Parakeet Assault what their company was, and I know how much you love Parakeet
The
Assault.
Saltery. I love the Saltery. They are in Ohio. They're under Ohio craft laws. So they, as I understand it, this may have changed. You have to get at them inside of Ohio. If you're outside of Ohio, they can't sell you anything, but they can give it to you, and it's really, really good. And I love caveman kernels. Just saying. But it's absolutely awesome. This gentleman has a passion for salt and seasonings, and he developed a business for salt and seasonings, and
he
they're
does it very well.
and they're good. And so getting back to, you can do whatever the hell you want to do if you do it well, you do it faster, or you do it cheaper. And he does it really, really, really well. Every steak that I grill gets his sea salt on it, the Suigerie, and they're phenomenal. So yeah, the saltery, very good stuff. KRF, Grail GeoPress, best man portable filter. Thank you.
Somebody must be new to the chat tonight. Says, how important are CPAs to small businesses? Very important.
Very important, Sam. We talked about that earlier, but long and short, yes, you need to have a CPA. And the business should be generating enough money that you can afford to retain a CPA on a yearly basis.
Once you hit 6 figures in sales, usually you're.
I'm saying, even if for a small business, you're talking maybe $1,200 a year in expense to consult with a CPA and have them prepare your taxes.
It's not what people think. It's not
tens
of thousands of dollars.
I think people have, you're right. There's this misunderstanding that you're going to have to walk in there with a briefcase full of $100 bills to have a CPA. And it's not that way. It can turn into that. But if your CPA does his or her job well and you do your job well, when you have to bring your CPA a duffel bag full of unmarked $100 bills, you've really done it right. In which case, you definitely want a CPA.
CPA can be the deciding factor on whether you go to jail or not.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, there you go. So, cool. What else we got?
I think the product supply company just
That's
said,
all.
Yeah.
people have the best ideas. Shit storms. New name.
Huh. No. No new name. No new name.
Oh, somebody did ask,
name,
how
it's
did
stuck.
you get
Your name.
your name? That was,
Well, many moons ago, I was born.
no,
Oh,
like your, or
How do you come up with the brand name?
yeah, how did you come up with your brand?
good. We're gonna
How did you make us
end
learn
with
to
that.
spell that word correctly?
BEARINDEPENDNT. Very independent.
Y'all, we do that all day long.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
so you know,
Constantly.
we have to do it in our head.
I can auto type independent without even looking at my, it's just, without even looking at my computer. All right, so here's the deal. This channel started as TJ Morris NTX Mac because that's my name and that's what I was doing, North Texas Mutual Assistance Group.
And it was a hobby.
And it was a hobby. And then it grew into Squid and Bear. Squid being my buddy Squid, who was part of the NTX Mag. And we talked a bunch of trash and we talked about preparedness and made fun of professional preppers and enjoyed it.
But I think that's also when you started thinking of it more as a business.
Yes.
Rather than just a hobby.
For sure. For sure. And that was at least a year before I left the wood shop.
Mm-hmm.
To build that base to transition to. And then when we left Texas and came here, Squid stayed in Texas because that's where his wife and kids were. And I certainly don't blame him for that. So he stayed in Texas. I came to Oklahoma. So there was no longer the Squid and Bear show. And so you can actually find Squid on YouTube. Squid Actual is his channel. And then I was all by my lonesome. We're like, well, what are we going to call this thing? And my wife and I were driving down the road. And
like, well, what do you want? What do you want? Like, what do you
you
want
say
the
that
channel to be about?
and I said, I want to show people that it's possible to come out of Her My People, to get out of the city and to be independent from the system. I want to show them that we're doing it and that it can be done. And it's not easy, but it's good. It can be done. And so she's like, well, why don't you call it Bear Independent? Like, oh man, that sums it right up. Because politically, I'm independent.
Mm-hmm.
Societally, I'm independent. Now, communally, I'm codependent. We are all codependent, right? But when it comes to the system, when it comes to the macro, my goal is to be as independent of that as possible. I want, if the world ends, somebody's got to come tell me a couple weeks later.
Right.
Hey man, do you hear the world ended? No shit, really? We're over here eating cheap, man. You know, cooking on a wood stove because we can, not because we have to, or whatever. So,
And the beholden to no man.
where did that come from?
Wasn't that
Yeah,
part of that same car ride?
yeah. Beholden to no man. I don't want people to. Outside influence should not get to tell me how I can or can't live. Should not get to tell me what's going to happen to my wife or my children or my loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to make the decisions. I'm required by my creator to make the decisions that are best for me and my family. And that comes back to the beholden to no man. I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. Everybody operates in their own best interest. That's just a fact of life. It's just humanity. But I get to act autonomously in my own best interest. And because of the way that we live our life, it turns out that my own best interest is, generally speaking, good-ish to very good for everybody around me as well. And so that's where the name came from. That's where Bear Independent came from.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And we're going to end with that. So, plus, yeah, we've got, I got to do the report tomorrow morning. We got an interview to do for Grindstone. And we've got botany tomorrow afternoon. And then a Rev Shabbat.
And a blizzard that
Right.
didn't
Blizzard's
happen in
coming.
Oklahoma.
Snowpocalypse
That's not coming tomorrow.
2021.
Sunday.
An SHT storm.
Tomorrow's not Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
It's fine. These Floridians. It's going to
Everybody
be
keeps saying
okay.
it's gonna be fine. We moved here going, it never really sticks. Like, you don't really need anything. The snow never really sticks. We're
doesn't
gonna
get
have
that
2
cold.
feet next week.
It's gonna be 1 degree.
It hasn't
0.
stuck yet.
It hasn't stuck. It did stick the last time a little bit. Oh, 2 feet of snow.
Jason M
Snow
would like
drifts.
to request a $200 a month Patreon tier.
What do you get for that?
Bragging rights.
I don't know. He asked why we
Signed
didn't have
underwear?
one, and I said we did for a while, but then people gave us a bunch of shit for it, so we deleted it. And so he's
What?
politely requesting.
Okay. Noted.
You don't get shit. You can have it.
You get nothing.
Yeah, you don't get to
You get
talk
all the
shit, though.
stickers. We'll send you all the stickers.
Yeah, I'll think about that. So getting back to worrying,
Yes.
let us hear the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commands, Ecclesiastes. And it says in Ecclesiastes, who can add 1 minute to his life by worrying?
Mm-hmm.
No one. So when it rains 2 foot or snows 2 foot, so be it. And with that, I'm out.
Shalom.
Bless y'all.
Shalom.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for spending 3 hours with us.
Hope y'all learned some stuff.
Hopefully y'all learned some stuff. And if you're on Patreon, please let us know in the comments down below if you thought this was worth the effort and is it worth doing something like this again.
Mm-hmm.
Not regularly, but you know,
Right.
maybe once a month, once a couple months. Should we
Once
do
a
this
quarter,
again?
yeah.
Yeah. Let
Yeah.
us know.
Different subject?
Entrepreneurship, small business.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Bless y'all. We're out.
Shalom.